We are live. Hello, everybody. Oh, there we go. We are live. Hello. Hope everybody's having a nice day today. Yeah. So day 2 of the Nikolas Cruz sentencing. I mean, can't get any worse than yesterday, right? We shall see. See if the judge spazzes out again and abandons her judicial duties that she failed to perform yesterday. And we'll see if the parents continue to whine and cry at the defense when they don't say a word to the prosecution, because after all, one side is supposed to get the conviction and the death penalty. The other side's supposed to stop it. And we've only been yelling at this side. Why is anybody yelling at the prosecutor saying, you guys had this? It was yours to lose. It seems a little weird to me that we're screaming and crying that the cornerback caught an interception, and we're not mad at the quarterback for throwing a pick or mad at the offensive line for not keeping the pocket open. No, instead, we're going to cry about the defense attorneys, which that's what we need in a trial like this, an erosion in the idea of the Fifth and Sixth Amendment. Greg, they were out of line, but that is a problem. People seem to think because they're a victim that makes them right. And they've been wrapped up in that for far too long. And these people did it again. They think because they're a victim, they get to say whatever they want. They get to squeal and cry and wring out their tampons. Well, because they're a victim, by golly. And that's how this should go. And that's not fair. You may be a victim. You may have suffered. But all I can see from half of this is that the two dads, especially who did it, they're complete fucking assholes. And they probably were before everything happened in life. And I mean, if that's what they want to be known for and how they want to be seen, good for them. But take the shooting away, and these guys still would have been pricks, is how I guarantee you these guys would have been. And then the judge, well, judge has been a dumpster fire. Anyways, Zero Fox, you win. You are the first, so you should get the recognition for it. Anyways, rest everybody else. Elaine, hello. Paradox, hello. Class reductionist. Oh, poisonous paradox. That's an interesting one. Parallax, how you doing? Greg, I obviously. It's Mr. Squiggles, Terry Bell. It should start at 1:30. Should be starting pretty much right meow. Don't know why. We're gonna have to use long cuts I can't find anywhere. Free Flyer says land-basing lawyers who were appointed to do their constitutional duties are ridiculous. Doesn't matter if they were appointed or they were hired. They did their job. You know, to sit here and scream and cry about it, why aren't you mad at the prosecutors? People with infinite resources, they couldn't bring home the verdict. George Alvarez says, how shitty of a judge do you have to be to turn a sentencing no clown show? Well, we're seeing that. This judge is way out of her depth. She's very, very emotional. She's very short-fused. There might be other times where she is good at what she does, but in a case like this is not it. And also, from what I understand, this is her first capital punishment case. And to have this be your first time through the ringer is not the best thing in the world. You know, she should get sanctioned. She should have to go through some CLEs, or just somebody needs to sit her down and say, hey, listen, sugar tits, you can't be acting like this. You gotta act like a judge. I really think so. And we'll just put this up so we can make sure it doesn't sneak up on us. Two of those 420 says, is the sentencing hearing usually just the arrest of the guilty person? This is actually a good question. Yes and no. Usually when it's a sentencing, and I've been through a million of them now, I've been through a bunch as a prosecutor and obviously more as a defense attorney. It's not usually like this bad, but you don't usually have a guy who commits 17 counts of murder and there's all this. Now, I've been through them before where, one of the rougher ones I was through as a prosecutor was where, assistant prosecutors, where the guy was drunk and hit another car and caused it to crash, and he killed a 17-year-old girl. Actually, I think she was 16. And this girl had everything going for her. She was doing really good in life. She had all kinds of dreams. I mean, she was going to be great in life. And the guy that hit her in the car. Well, he was kind of a loser. Had his license suspended already for an OVI. Didn't have insurance. Was driving a beater car he was working on, and went to the bar to go get tore up. And yeah, in that one, the people kind of roasted him. But overall, it's usually not too bad. Usually, the victims are one or two people, so it's never on this scale. Um, Dragon's Treasure says free Nikolas Cruz. And by the way, if you go to dragonstreasure.com for a haven for anime and tea lovers, use the promo code. No, that's not a real promo code. But I will say the Dragon's Treasure does have a great selection of tea products. I picked up some myself. In fact, I have, and I'll show you guys exactly the one I got. I got the. Oh, which one is it? I got this one here, a tea of fire and ice. Got a nice little bit of wintergreen kick to it. It is a very good tea. I highly recommend it. I ordered some. Very, very good. Sorry, spearmint, but it's very good. It's got a very nice taste to it, very soothing. Uh, Helps definitely if you're having a stuffy day, your nose a little stuffed up. Like today, that'll be really good. So I highly recommend it. If you guys are looking for tea, to go there. Yes, Daisy girl. Yes, this will be a tampon attack again today. Listening to these parents, like I said, I don't need to hear. Be an adult. Don't come in there and swing your tampons around to air dry them. But we shall see what happens. Dragon's Treasure says, "Oh no, it's short fused woman in power." It's one thing to do your job and another to laugh up with your client, putting your arm around them. Okay, I'll answer this first part first, Rash. You develop a bond with your client. You spend all day talking with them. You converse with them. You learn about them. You learn about their family. You learn everything about them. That bond will develop. You have to have that bond. It's going to happen anyway. Heck, you can go to death row. There's that bond. You can see documentaries of it, like the inmates and the guards. They don't develop like a "Hey, bro, what's up" bond, but you develop a bond with the people you're around all the time. And this is somebody you're working with on a very personal level, so you will be able to have a chuckle with them or relax with them. That's going to happen. That says nothing. Like you're allowed to do that anyway. If you don't like that, tough shit. You are allowed to do that with your client. Um, the second part, though, taking enjoying and one of the defense attorneys flipped off the judge or the camera. Yeah, and that was a while ago. That wasn't just recently, but that was there's still some simmering issue. And should you get reprimanded for that? Sure, it's unprofessional. But that's it. It's done. It's done. It's already moved on from there. We're past it. We're not revisiting that. But to sit here and tell these people they need to treat I need to treat my client, I don't care what he's done, as though I'm processing his loan application for him, that's nonsense. There's no way in hell I could do that. And I would refuse to do it that way. Uh, Parallax asking, what's the code, Dragon's Treasure? So, yeah, wow, they still haven't started yet. Maybe it's hello, everybody. Yeah, we're just keep waiting. We are still waiting. Uh, yes, hit the like button harder than the judge got hit in her feels yesterday. Yes. You can't make fun of my children like that. It was just an example, Judge. And then what did she do? Roar! I will give Cruz's attorneys points, the two lead public defenders who got kicked out of the table. They were phenomenal in their poise. They acted like consummate professionals, so I have nothing but respect for them. The state, oh, we can't tell the victims what to say and what not to say. Yes, you can. I've done that before. When you talk to the victim, they're getting ready for the sentencing hearing. They say, well, what can I say? Well, there's all you tell them. You have to be respectful. You can't come in there and act like a lunatic. If one of them came in there and said to the prosecutor, hey, I'm going to start dropping the N-bomb for 5 minutes straight, will the prosecutor say, well, I can't stop you? He. No, he'd say, wow, you really can't do that. Stay here's the bounds of your topic. So this idea oh, we can't control him, bullshit. Brooks will be a circus? I don't think so. I don't think there's going to be anything special. Oh, here we go. By the way, Dragon's Treasure, use the code VICES. Vices at the Dragon's Treasure. Oh, Fair Frozen, 55 for $2. Thoughts on the P320 M17 as a first handgun? Cheers. All I can say is you need to go to a range and you need to try it out. You should be able to try it out. You should be able to go to a range and try them out. That's how I would recommend you do it. Make sure you shoot one first. But in the meantime, also shoot other things. Shoot a Glock 17, shoot a Glock 19, shoot a SIG, shoot all different kinds. Shoot whatever they have available. So you can get a feel for what you actually like. But it wouldn't be a bad handgun. Just remember, that's a lot of handgun. That's a full size. You might not like it. You might want to like a compact, like a Glock 19 or something comparable. Or a P320 compact.
We're just waiting on Mr. Cruz, and then we'll begin.
So I would just say that that's what I would recommend.
Do you have a witness that's going to testify via Zoom?
Yes, Your Honor. They're already.
Just something to think about.
Okay.
We can, if you like, Your Honor, we can go through the formalities about that with the witness.
Sure.
Can see everybody.
This is Mr. Who is this?
Mr. David Alladette.
Okay.
I don't know.
Does he need to
I don't
be
know when I'm
sworn?
going to get a code. I'll message you in
I
Discord.
don't think so. Just comport with the.
Okay. Mr. Alhadef, can you hear me, sir?
I can.
Good morning, sir. This is Judge Scheer. I just wanted to
Brittany,
make sure that I can hear you.
The
and that
point
you can
was
hear
the
me.
judge
And because
the judge
I'm
acted
going
like she
to
couldn't
swear
understand
you
why there
in,
was a
if you
problem,
could
and then she
just
did.
put some form of
That was my problem with her.
state-issued identification on the screen so that I can verify your identity.
Sure, I'm just getting my license for you so you can see it.
No problem.
Scott, you're talking about the defense attorney flipping off the judge and laughing about Cruz. Yeah, I saw that. I saw the clip. Great. Punish them and then deal with this next issue. But she didn't. So you don't get to come back and revisit problems. You're a judge. You have to
Can
keep
you
moving.
Just back it up a little bit.
Do you want me to take it out?
As long as I can read it, which can anyone read it? Right
Daily Donkey
I'll
was saying,
pull
are
it
they
out.
lefty
No worries.
prosecutors?
I'll take it
wanna
out.
make
No
sure
worries.
I
it's
don't
the
think
name.
so.
I
This
just
would
need
have
to be
been
able to
a
see your name. I can see your
this would have been a
picture.
special team from the state's attorney's
It's fine.
office. So I don't
It's not
know.
the best shot either. Right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Where do they have your name? Oh, I see it. Okay, thank you, sir. You can put it down now. We're just going to wait a minute for the defendant to get here, and then I'm going to ask you whether you can see and hear him and whether he can see and hear you. And then
Sounds perfect.
I'll swear you in, and then we'll begin.
Here he comes.
Excellent.
Here
I'm going to put you back on
comes
mute
the
just because I'm in my classroom. So
boy.
Okay,
just let me know when.
okay.
Here comes
Thank you.
the boy.
Okay, for the record, the lawyers are present, the defendant is present. Mr. Al-Hadef, are you still there?
Apparently, a good
I
recommendation
am
from
still
Jim.
here.
Okay, can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you.
And would someone who is seated next to the defendant please raise their hand? Mr. Secor, would you raise your hand so Mr. Alhadeff knows where he's looking? Can you see the gentleman that's standing up and the person sitting next to him in red?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and Mr. Cruz, are you able to see Mr. Alhadeff on the screen?
Got his trials. This audio is
And can
awful.
you hear him? All right, at any time, if you can't see the defendant or if the defendant can't see you, please let me know. Mr.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Mr. Alhadeff, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir. You can put your hand down. And for the record, I have identified the witness by his, is it Maryland? Maryland driver's license?
All right,
Yes.
we'll get to this. We'll get to this.
So I just want to make sure. State whenever you're ready.
Mr. Alhadeff, do you have some words that you would like to express to the court today?
I do.
Please go ahead.
People have asked, what should I say if I come face to face with your niece's murderer? Words are meaningless to an abomination such as yourself. However, that's all I have to demonstrate my resolve. While they won't bring back my niece, Alyssa, or the 16 other angels you've mutilated back, they will be the vehicle that haunts your soul minute by minute, day by day. Your deed hit me on 3 levels: as a teacher, as an uncle, and as a human. As a teacher, I'm faced with making sure my classroom doors are secured and locked. I promised my learners that I will stand in front of them should something occur. Instead of planning for instruction, my colleagues and I now have to plan out how to look at a child in the eye who is stricken with terror and mobilize them to safety. Can you imagine what that sight is like? Wait, you absolutely can. However, I wonder.
I worry
if
about that
you've
when I
thought
go to
about
court, brother.
how
This
that
isn't
look
new.
will embody you when you walk inside your cell and pray that the doors are locked. Who will be there to tell you everything will be all right? Definitely not your dear old mommy. The teachers at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School and all over the U.S. didn't go to school to learn how to play defensive tackle. I sure as heck didn't. We went to school to learn how to nurture youth and offer guidance as best as possible. In fact, you were a recipient of these mental health opportunities, but chose not to be receptive to it. The mental health system didn't fail you. You failed you. Who is going to be your defensive tackle now? Truthfully, I don't care. As an uncle, I've had the sincerest pleasure watching Alyssa grow up into a distinguished and well-respected young lady. She was filled with empathy, care, and the belief that everyone deserved equity. In fact, if she had known you, she would have even lent an ear or a shoulder. While you single-handedly splintered and ruptured my family upon putting 10 bullets in this young soul, the one thing you've not robbed us of is our resolve. My brother, Alyssa's father, pushes forward daily and fights alongside my sister-in-law, Alyssa's mother, to ensure safety reforms. Together, they maintain a strong front while continuing to raise Alyssa's brothers. My mother, albeit her health challenges, somewhat in part to your deed, yearns to be there for her family in any way possible. My father, in his dying breath, did what he could do to offer comfort and love to the family. God rest his soul. Even my older brother, another uncle of Alyssa's, looks for ways to move forward and offer support to reduce pain. Resolve. As a human being, I believe that everyone has a chance to live and grow, be resolute in their decisions, and deserve great opportunities. Given that you've chosen to live and exercise the same right that you've taken away from the 17 you've decimated, you also deserve great opportunities. You deserve the opportunity to rot away. You deserve the opportunity to absorb the look of terror on your face once you leave this courtroom. You deserve the opportunity of knowing that justice will prevail at some point causing you great anguish, minute by minute, day by day. So coming back to the question of what I would say, since I'm now face to face with you, sort of virtually, may the words of my mouth and the sentiments of the entire Parkland community, along with the voices of the extended community, grant you resonating images and reminders of the resolute decisions you've chosen. May our resolve continually prod you of the freedoms you no longer have and the ones that will continually be taken from you. Please exercise your right and rot in hell. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Al-Hadaf.
Thank you.
Your students were very well behaved.
Thank you.
All right. State, who's next?
The state would next call Annika and Mitchell Dworet.
Okay, the last little bit of that, though, saying exercise your right to burn in hell, that was actually kind of good.
Good afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. Dworet. Will both of you be speaking today?
Only me.
Okay, Mrs. Dworet, would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, ma'am. You can.
No,
put your
there
hand
aren't
down.
really time
Please
limits
state
to an
your full name
extent.
for the record.
Annika Dworet.
Okay, whenever you're ready, state.
Mrs. Dworet, would you like to say something on behalf of your son, Nicholas?
Yes, I do.
Please go ahead.
We sat in this courtroom every single day during this trial. We listened to every witness. We saw every piece of evidence. It is heartbreaking how any person who heard and saw all this did not give this killer the worst punishment possible. As we all know, the worst punishment in the state of Florida is the death penalty. How much worse would the crime have to be to warrant the death penalty? And to spare this killer's life, because he has mental health issues, doesn't every single person who chooses to murder people have some kind of mental health issue? It was extremely painful to hear all the horrific details of this massacre at All Children's High School. Just to be in the same room as this monster who killed our son Nicholas and attempted to murder our son Alex. This unbearable. One of the most disgusting and unprofessional actions that occurred in this courtroom was the defense team holding, touching, and giggling with this cold-blooded murderer. We found this to be so offensive to our family, as well as our son Nicholas' memory. We would like to thank you, Judge Scherer, for being professional and fair during this trial. You did an excellent job. The prosecution team, you're all amazing lawyers. We will forever be grateful for the professional way you presented this case and for all the hard work you put into it. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who continue to be with us with love and support through this difficult journey. Victim advocates and Eagles Haven, your support have been invaluable during this trial. After today, no one will speak of this killer. He will be forgotten. We will, however, always remember, honor, and live for Alyssa, Scott, Martine, Aaron, Jamie, Chris, Luke, Kara, Gina, Joaquin, Elena, Meadow, Helena, Alex, Carmen, Peter, and our beautiful Nicholas. May their memories be a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, these are very short and sweet. Did the Gutenberg guy go yet? Who's doing all the big anti-gun stuff?
Good morning, good afternoon, Ms. Alhadeff. Would you please raise your right hand? Are you both going to be speaking? Yes. Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You can put your hands down, and would you both please state your full names for the record?
Lori Kim Alhadeff.
Elon Aldeff.
Thank you.
Mrs. Alhadeff, would you like to make a statement on behalf of your daughter?
Yes.
Please.
On February 13th, 2018, Alyssa played in the last soccer game of her life, wearing the number 8. After the game, we got in the car, and I turned to Alyssa, and I said, Alyssa, you know you just played the best game of your life. And she said, yeah, I know, Mom. A mom's love for her child is indescribable. As Alyssa's mother, I would have done anything for her. I would have given my life in exchange for Alyssa's, and I would have had the courage to run into that building. I would have taken the 8 bullets for Alyssa. On February 14th, 2018, the most painful day of my life, I sat there numb with the new reality that my only daughter, Alyssa,
Makes
was
you
shot
wonder
and
why the
killed.
rest didn't do it.
Alyssa was the type of kid that brought people together with her beautiful smile and contagious laugh. She deserved so much more time here on earth. Alyssa was the heartbeat of our family. On February 15th, I went to the medical examiner's office to see Alyssa. They handed me an 8x10 color photo of Alyssa. Only later that day was I finally able to see Alyssa in person. I tried to warm her body with my hands. She was so cold. I remember that I touched her in the multiple areas where Alyssa was shot with my hands. All I wanted to do was to bring Alyssa back to life, but I couldn't protect her and I couldn't save her. You robbed Alyssa a lifetime of memories. Alyssa will never graduate from high school. Alyssa will never go to college. And Alyssa will never play soccer. She will never get married. And she will never have a baby. To the killer of Alyssa Miriam Alhadeff, my hope is for you is that you are miserable for the rest of your pathetic life. My hope for you is that the pain of what you did to my family burns and traumatizes you every day. One day, God will decide your fate. As the Great Seal of the state of Florida says, in God we trust. May your life be horrific, painful, and show no mercy. To my daughter Alyssa, know that your light will always shine, and I will continue to be your voice. I will continue to fight for change, and I will work the rest of my life honoring you with my work at our nonprofit organization, Make Our Schools Safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Alhadeff,
You know,
you have words.
oh, he has, you know, this is actually touching so far.
Your Honor, thank you for allowing me to speak one last time. Let me share how angry and frustrated I am with the judicial system. after 4.5 grueling years, a failed judicial system did not hand down a death sentence to the murder of my daughter and 16 others. Do I see this as accountability? Absolutely not. Do we now have closure? Let me be clear. Absolutely not. What I see is that the system values this animal's life over the 17 now dead. Worse, we sent a message to the next killer out there that the death penalty would not be applied to mass killing. This is wrong and needs to be fixed immediately. Alyssa deserved so much more than to be shot 8 times in her English class.
How do you fix that? You
Alyssa
can't.
deserved to live her life and fulfill her dreams. She deserved to experience life for all that it had to offer and all that she had to offer this world. To the Parkland murderer that killed my daughter, you skirted the and you are nothing but a coward. But know this, while my family mourns our beautiful Alyssa, you will not own us, nor our feelings. We will go on glorifying Alyssa's life through our foundation, make our school safe, and like my wife said, we will be her voice. Alyssa's law will become federally mandated, and we will make our schools safe from animals like you. We will make sure that everyone remembers Alyssa. You, on the other hand, will remain in a cage like the creature you are. I only pray that you get to rot in that cage and that you are punished each day 17 times over for the 17 you murdered. I stand by others who say that you have no redeemable value. You killed without remorse, without compassion, without prejudice, so shall you receive the same in return. Prisoner 0893407. So now let me ask your honor to redeem my belief in the judicial system. Provide a punishment like no other. Stop providing the safety and security for this animal. Take away a piece of this creature's life
she's crying.
every day until this creature has no life. Over $2 million spent on this creature's security, millions on the defense, and millions going forward. Stop spending millions of taxpayer dollars on this killer. Put this creature in general population where it is afforded no additional protections, and issue punishment like no other. Forbid TV, internet,
She can't
mail,
do any of that.
phone calls, visitation,
She can't
and
do any of that.
education.
She can't do any
Let
of
this
that.
creature be erased from society, never to be heard from again. Let him wear a shock collar like the animal he is.
Can't do that.
Most of all, and under absolutely no circumstances, should this animal ever be given an opportunity for parole. No matter who presides over the matter, let this be the final determination, one which shall stand and one that can never be overturned. Send a clear message to our society that mass murder cannot and will not be tolerated. And to all the media outlets, I ask once again, no notoriety. Block out this creature's face and this creature's name. Call this creature what it is, a mass murderer, a killer, an animal. Thank you.
No, she's crying. She needs to be recused. She can't do this. This is her falling apart.
Samantha Fuentes.
Good afternoon, Samantha. Please
There aren't
raise
enough
your right hand.
tampons in South
Do
Florida
you
now.
solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You can put your hand down. Please state your full name for the record.
She
Samantha
looks like
Fuentes.
it.
Ms. Fuentes, as a victim in this case, would you like to give a statement?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
My name is Sam Fuentes. You might not remember me, but in high school, we walked the same hallways. You knew my friends. I knew where you sat at lunch. Hey, we were even both in a JROTC together. We were still children back then. I was still a child when I saw you standing at the window, peering into my Holocaust studies class, holding your AR-15 that had swastikas ironically scratched into it.
Holocaust
I was
studies.
still a child after I watched you kill 2 of my friends. I was still a child when you shot me with your gun. You shot me in the leg, and if you looked me in the face like I'm looking you right now, you would see the scars on it from the hot shrapnel that was lodged into it. Do you remember? After you sprayed my classroom with bullets, standing in the dorm frame, peering into the work you've done? Do you remember my little battered, bloody face looking back at you? I could have sworn we locked eyes. This is only the beginning of how you ruined my life and many others. It's not the physical suffering. It's not just that you killed and injured a total of 34 people. It's the fact that I'll have to live with the aftermath of this for the rest of my life. I'll always have PTSD, depression, anxiety, suicidal ideations. Speaking of suicide, 3 students killed themselves because of what you did. Now, to speak quite frankly, not only do I want to kill myself sometimes, I live with constant fear that someone exactly like you will finish off the job you failed to do by not killing me. You gave me and many others a lifetime of trauma, pain, and suffering, long after you committed this crime, and for what? You are nobody now. You are not special. You have no longer the power anymore. You will step away from this, and you will have the most unremarkable, pathetic existence, one in which I only pray that you suffer. I remember the person you were. I remember how you terrorized and threatened and fought my friends, even after many of them made efforts to get to know you better. I remember how enthusiastic you were to incite violence and spread your racist hate speech publicly. I could have saved all of us 4.5 years. So here it is. You were a hateful bigot with an AR-15 and a God complex. You still are, minus the gun. You might have everyone else fooled, but not me, because this is personal. Racism is not a mental illness. Perfectly planned and articulated manifestos and plans are not characteristics of the sickly or the mentally unhinged. You are not this helpful, vulnerable, mentally ill adult the defense tried to paint you as, and you certainly do not deserve any sympathy or pity from me or anyone in this courtroom. You had circumstances that placed you at odds with the world. Yet instead of trying to solve your problems, you threw a tantrum of lethal and tremendous size. Like a pathetic, entitled child, you made the message clear that you lack the competency to make any decisions except those that resort to violence. I assure you, you will not be famous for this. I assure you that our people will be accounted for, they'll grow and heal despite you. I assure you that I will be excitedly anticipating your demise. And I will assure you that you will remember my face, and it will make you sick. You have no power anymore. You have no future. You have nothing. I'll get to walk out of this courthouse without cuffs and go home. You will not. The people that you kill will have a legacy much more important than you. And the people who nearly killed will live their lives, though with much difficulty, with a compassion and a dignity in ways you will only dream. Without your stupid gun, you are nothing. My name is Sam Fuentes, and you will not forget me. I'll never forgive or forget what you've done. And to say I won't be angry for the rest of my life would be a lie, even though I know that's exactly what you want. Though I'm angry about this verdict and believe you do not deserve to share the same earth as the rest of us, unlike you, in a state of great adversity, I can proudly say I'll never stoop as low as you will. And as you did. I'll never take my anger, pain, and suffering out on others because I am stronger than you. This entire community that stands behind me is stronger than you, and we are stronger than the hate that you give. My name is Sam Fuentes. You will not forget me. You will not forget us, not until the last day that you breathe.
See, no, that was actually very powerful. I thought she did a very good job. She laid into him and focused on him.
Take a break.
Yes, please.
That
We're
was-
gonna be in recess for 10 minutes.
You know, you guys may make fun of that, but I thought she did a very good job. I thought she did a decent job. What's her name again? Sam Fuentes. But she did a very good job. I thought she did a decent job. That's the purpose of a victim impact statement. You get the chance to say what this has done to you. And for her, it sounds like a lot. She didn't try to run around and talk about how things need to get fixed or what they're going to do. You know, she talked about her pain, and that's what this is meant to be. You're not meant to plug your nonprofits, not meant to claim the laws you're getting passed or going to fix. No. Like, plugging your nonprofits, come on. MK Keisel is saying, did you not see her smirk? You know, she can sit there and like throw rubber dildos at him for all I care. She could smirk at him. Yeah, you tried to kill me and now you're going away forever. Like, I might smirk. I might laugh. Like, if I was in her position, I'd laugh at you and call you, like, I'd say, like, Nikolas, you fucking retard. You couldn't even manage to kill me. I don't blame her for smirking. I mean, that was entirely professional. She could have called him a shit-healing motherfucker for all I cared, and that would have been fine. She has every right to do that. And, you know, did you not see her smirk? I give a shit less if she smirked. She was professional. She was professional and respectable and respectful. You know, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. So, you know, she threw in leftist buzzwords. Yeah, but she's not. Yeah, she's like that's gonna happen. There's nothing you can do about that. That's gonna happen. I can't really. She did make it political, yeah, but not in the sense of like the other parents were like, you know, our nonprofits, which I'm sure that they're getting paid well on. Notice she didn't say anything about a new gun law. And when she does, she can go fuck herself. But until then, she did a good job. Yeah, what was the racism about, though? I don't know. That part, it still blows my mind. So, yeah. And 2L law student says, and this is true, she accepted the jury's decision even though she disagreed with it and moved on. And that's the thing. The jury said, sorry, we're not going to send him to the death house. That's it. Full stop. Done. You can't sit there and cry to the judge or get mad at him. It's done. You know, can she curse? Not necessarily, but if she did, I don't know if it would have been stopped. This judge is basically letting people do anything they want. You're generally not allowed to. Harry Dick Chef says, always great when you have a mic. Hashtag LawTube. Yeah. Mr. Clean says, yes, he didn't score a nuke. Yep. So let's see. We got some other comments to get to real quick. Fair Frozen 55 says for $5, rip, I bought it. I'm committed. I'm a big guy, though. I got plans to go to gunsmithing school, so I'll need my own handgun to tinker on. Cheers. Well, I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so we have Darth Hideous saying, I'm still not sure what these hearings affect. The victims always have the right to be heard at a sentencing. So even though he's going away life without parole, they still have the right to be heard. They should be allowed to be heard. So that's their right. Even without states without a victim's Bill of Rights, they still have the right to be heard. Salty Balls saying, why are the victim statements sworn in? You're speaking on the record. Court is in session. The record is on. If you want to speak on the record, there's only two ways you get to do it. You are a layperson. You're a layperson. You get to be sworn in, or you're an officer of the court. Officer of the courts don't have to be sworn in. As an attorney, I don't have to swear in when I testify or I talk. But if you want to talk on the record and you're not an attorney, congratulations. It's on the record. It's got to be sworn because you still have to tell the truth. Do you agree everything you're going to say here is truthful? Yes. I mean, we can't have people spouting off perjury because let's say Let's say it was still up to the judge to make the decision. Do you want people going up there and lying? And lying without any potential penalty? No, you want perjury to be a threat there. So it's a good thing it's done under the penalty, pain and penalty of perjury. Poisonous Paradox says it feels theatrical. They've had 4 years to prepare for this. I mean, these parents and these survivors have probably rehearsed this speech for the better part of 4 years now, at least once a day, if not multiple times a day. So imagine that if you had a speech and as a speech it's something that drove you and destroyed you so badly, it would seem rehearsed because it is. Rash is saying, this is what I was talking about. It's one thing to have a relationship with him because you spend time with them. It's another thing to basically blow him in court in front of everyone. You know, I think we'll have to agree to disagree there. If you want to see people treat him like shit, the prosecutor's side of the table is over there. Game Patter says, Florida's old death penalty rules that only require majority and not unanimous should have stayed. Supreme Court doesn't allow that. You have to have a unanimous verdict for the death penalty. And I think you should. If you can't agree, then the guy should not be executed. That whole jury should have to agree in order to do an execution. I don't like split verdicts. Split verdicts are bullshit. You shouldn't be able to convict a man of a felony on a 10-2 or, 8-2 or whatever you want to do verdict. No, it should be unanimous. A conviction should be unanimous. A death penalty recommendation should be unanimous. There should be no ifs, ands, ors, or buts. Let's see here. Jim, how are you doing today, Jim? Hope you're doing well. They're not supposed to say anything about the lawyers. The lawyers are doing their job guaranteed by the Sixth Amendment, and only communists attack defense attorneys. Pretty much. Yeah. If you're out there and you're upset at these defense attorneys, you really need to look in the mirror, because that's not how this should be done. It should not be done that way at all. The visitor snafu and a sleepy Metzgerhund says, why are they giving speeches? These are the victim impact statements. They are done at sentencing for any sort of crime. Victims have the right traditionally to be heard. So that's why. Does the FBI get punished? JDK Buck says, does the FBI get punished? Someone tried to warn them in January about Cruz. No, they get to keep moving on. They get to know about sexual assaults and not do anything either. It's cool working for the FBI. Jim is saying, you got to respect the grift. Yeah. Got to respect the grift. Iris Hewlett saying he didn't just kill those innocent ones. He killed their families too. He did. Caused a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and a lot of hurt. And those people have the right to come in and express that hurt. And I think Sam Fuentes did a great job of articulating that. Very well done. Harry Dickshaft for $2 says, this judge, 19th Amendment, mistake confirmed. Jeez. Kyle Cowden saying, I want Ghost of the Dead to haunt the one juror. And I hope that juror is haunted by their decision, because I think Cruz should have got the death penalty. And it sounds like this juror had it in the back of their mind the whole time they weren't going to agree with the death penalty, which I don't think was fair. You should be fair and impartial. So yeah, I hope that juror realizes what they did. Mr. Clean says, how could 200 bullets kill 6 million students? It doesn't make sense. Oh my gosh, you guys are something else today. All I can say. Oh wow, you guys are just chugging along ahead. Also, guys, if you're new here today, I said 555 people. Hi, my name's Sean Martin. I run the channel Potentially Criminal. I am a defense attorney out of Cleveland, Ohio. So today had a free afternoon, so we'll be covering this today. I just thought I'd squeeze this in. All right, so let's see where we're at. Tarkina Meyer for $10. Thank you for the super chat. It's good to see you around. said Stephen Crowder was doing a change my mind, and a woman said accused is the same as guilty, which is scary that people think that. Another woman told her, "Don't ever serve on my jury." Yeah, that's accused is not the same as guilty, and that's a scary thought. The woman had that thought, so that woman probably was the thought too. Gates Above for $10 says, "Thank you, Your Honor. This man ruined the lives of many and my child. Therefore, before I tell you about that, oh, hold on. This man ruined the lives of many, and including my child. Before I tell you about that, Bridge Gold is a great place to place your investments. Worried about your IRA or your 401k? Place some of that into a gold. This is not investment advice." Yes, that's kind of what it felt like to me too, a little bit. Very funny though. Elaine Weldon for $27.99 in Canadian loonies. Canadian pesos. "I think he'll be hunted by inmates in prison, won't he? He's not going to be like, guys, they're not going to throw him out onto like the yard of somewhere where he has to deal with like the Aryan Brotherhood, the Crips, the gangster disciple. Like, that's not going to happen to him. He's going to be in secure housing. They have to take care of him. They have to protect him to a reasonable amount. So he will be fine." Harry Dickshaw says, "Do the cops that didn't do jack get consequences?" Nope. That officer just has a lot of lonely nights staring at the muzzle of a pistol, probably. So yeah, that guy who sat there and hid. Null says, "Weren't there 3 that wanted life?" That's what the 4th person was saying. Well, it started out with 1. One person said, "I just can't do it." And as a result, 2 others then went along with it. So it started as 1, and that 1 flipped 2 more. AC says, "Oh, long ago there wasn't just 100 of us in chat." Yeah, a little different. A little bit different now. Sheeple Hunter says, "Oh God, did I cross the bridge?" I wasn't joking when I said I made a tally I didn't think I would cross. Oh my God, that's oh. Yes, we passed 15,000 subscribers. Thank you to each and every one of you out there. Interesting moment. Didn't think I'd get here. Rick Nikita says Fort Grounds has fallen. Debus says, "I find some of these victim impact statements play up things to try to get their clip for their moment to be stunning and brave. Kind of seems like they were sincere considering the last 12 ones." And here's the thing. If you lose someone, I'm not going to contest really how they go about it. It's something I've never gone through. I hope to God I never go through. So there's some things I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on. Not all of what they've done is, I think, beyond reproach, but there are some things they've done that should be criticized. But overall, I don't think, trying to write the most powerful and poetic thing you can, well, those words mean things, and those are the only words you're going to get. That's the one shot you get at him. So yeah, you're going to sit there and make that. If I had 4 years to write and somebody killed like one of my parents or one of my siblings or my girlfriend, somebody, I would make that sound like fucking Shakespeare by the time I got done with it. The most needling, and you know what? Even if it's somebody like Nikolas Cruz, who's like a 40 IQ, to everybody else in that room, I want them to hear how needled and sharp each word is and the damage it causes. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Corn Pop says the judge has been listening to testimony for 6 months. I don't understand why she can't get teary, but if she wept visibly but having compassion, because yesterday she acted like she didn't hear anything, went acted like a spaz towards defense counsel, highly unprofessional. But now today she's like, "Oh, I'm hearing everything and I'm so sad." That's why. Given her conduct, this just seems hollow to me. Reformed Convict for $10. Thanks for the super chat. Says, "Hey, playa, heads up, your girl is wanting a ring. She be hitting Bronk up for advice to get you to take a knee. As a happily married, twice widower, getting married to great women, it's my greatest moments." I heard about that last night. Yeah. Thank you for the support on that. And yeah, I will say I look forward to the day I do it. So don't know when I'm going to do it though. Matthew saying, huge congratulations. You're now over 15,000 subs. Yeah, thank you very much. 0 fucks for $2 says 15K till up, homie. Thanks. Yeah, looking forward to it now. Nihilist Anonymous says, if someone is unable to vote for the death penalty, why wouldn't they be weeded out of the jury pool? I have a feeling this person kind of fibbed, or they thought so, but they weren't honest with themselves. I think that's the reason. I don't think this person intentionally lied to get on. If they did, well, that's on them. But I think they weren't just intellectually honest with themselves. They really could convict someone and sentence them to death. Best I can come up with. Medina saying, did you notice that McNeil was wearing the white outfit again? She was making a counter statement after yesterday's statements. I didn't, but I mean, there's only so many ways you can kind of strike back. So that's how she'll strike back. A Merms for 10 pounds, 10 pounds sterling of the King sterling. Says, congratulations on your 15K. Thank you. I appreciate it. Mr. Squiggles for $2 says 15K subs, now show feet. Remember, you have to go to locals for that. Guys. The Pie Case says, as a tax-paying citizen, I am tired of paying for these prisoners for the rest of their lives. He should fry. I agree. And, this is something I know people have mentioned to me before. They're surprised when I say I support the death penalty. I do think it has uses. I do think it's something society should have in its pocket. Do I think Nikolas Cruz deserved it? Yes. Do I view he had mental health issues? Yes. Did those stop him from doing right from wrong? And did he enough mitigation? No. But Brent, I got here late, but did I address the ridiculous Baron deflection comment? I did a little bit, just saying this was grossly unprofessional and she's awful. But yes, that was like a freshman kid in philosophy class making an argument. Don't know there. Harry Dickshaft for $20. Thank you. With the VIS and the Brooks trial coming up, victim impact statements. A couple of questions. Will they force Brooks to sit in the room gagged, or will they put him in the other room muted? Is there a requirement for him to hear what they have to say? Yeah, he has to. You have to be there at the hearing. You can't be skipped out. And in this situation, they'll put him there and they'll make him sit there in the other room on mute. And they'll force him to sit there.
The lawyers
as they
are
should.
present.
The victims have a right to be
Defendant is
heard.
present. We are back in session.
And he should be at the
State
hearing
when
all the
you're
way
ready,
through.
You may call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
The state would call Tavika Collins to give a statement on behalf of Mrs.
Now, here we go.
Dentrock.
Okay. Good morning. Good afternoon. Excuse me. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Would you please state your full name and spell your last name for the record, and then state the name of the person that you're giving the statement for?
Yes,
Thank you.
Tavika Collins, Collins, and I'm reading on behalf of April Shintrub.
Thank you.
Would you please do a statement?
No, she cannot change it.
Shintrub, the mother of Carmen Shintrub.
Yes.
Thank you.
This trial has made it clear to me that we need better laws. Committing a mass shooting should be an automatic death sentence, and I hope a law like this can be passed in the next legislative session. I also hope that the legislator will reinstate.
You'll be sending a lot of black people to death row,
as the law was written previously. I know that this trial, the verdict, and wanting to hold people accountable does not bring Carmen back, but I feel that Carmen deserved better. Carmen was a bright and caring daughter. I miss her every day. I miss her smile and beautiful face. I miss our talks and her silly jokes. I miss watching her wanting to do everything her older brother would do, trying to be a role model for her younger sister. I miss seeing how she would tackle problems, playing her violin for orchestra, concerts, or talking in front of a large group. Even though she had stage fright, I miss hearing her challenge herself and her friends to see who would get the highest test grade in class. I miss us watching movies and TV shows together, such as Marvel or This Is Us. I miss us singing country songs together in the car with our at-home karaoke. I miss going to concerts with her. Our last concert together was Fall Out Boy. I miss her texts and phone calls, usually to update me on what she was doing after school or where she was driving. I miss her telling us about her day at the dinner table. I miss her sharing her PowerPoints about upcoming vacations or plans for the future. I miss her playing her piano, filling our home with classical music or songs from Adele and Coldplay. I miss her singing in church. I miss us going to musicals, ballets, and museums together. I miss her complaining about how hot the beach was. I miss seeing her check out 10 books at a time from the local library and aiming to get some reading reward each summer. I miss her hugs before bed. I miss her breaking into fake Russian or British accents in the middle of telling us a story. I miss seeing her with her friends dress up at Halloween. I miss how excited she was seeing gifts from Santa on Christmas. I miss seeing her play with her siblings and cousins growing up. I miss seeing her plan events at church with the youth group, like the Shrove Tuesday pancake dinner, which was the last meal and night we spent together. I miss her laughs and silly faces. I even miss her eye rolls. She deserved to live out her dreams, go to prom, graduate high school, go to college and become a medical researcher and find a cure for ALS. Get married, have a family, live in Germany, and be happy. That vile monster took all of that away. He deprived the world from seeing Carmen make this world a better place. In the end, I know the evil murderer didn't show mercy to Carmen, nor did he think about the 17 lives taken when committing his acts of hate and violence. At his guilty plea, the killer said, "I believe it's your decision to decide where I go and whether I live or die, not the jury's. I believe it was your decision." If only that is how our court system worked, but it doesn't. The decision instead was made by the jury. I hope they would sentence him to death. The same fate as Carmen, Alana, Alyssa, Alex, Kara, Meadow, Helena, Gina, Nick, Martine, Luke, Jamie, Joaquin, Peter, Chris, Scott, and Aaron. Sincerely, April Shintrub.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
You may.
Sorry. My apologies. I completely read backwards. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
Just
I
forget
want
a
to thank the
page.
prosecution for their hard work in this case. I feel they tried with all their might to get our families justice for the deaths of our loved ones. I also want to thank the judge for allowing us to speak directly to the court. My daughter Carmen and her 16 others were hunted down and brutally murdered at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School on February 14, 2018, by the cold and calculated murderer that sits in this courtroom. Instead of sentencing the shooter to death, members of this jury decided to sentence him to life without parole, a life where he can read his fan mail, talk with visitors, enjoy the Florida sunshine, eat meals prepared for him, and watch TV. His life spared for taking the lives of 17 innocent souls, a decision I do not agree with or understand. These last 4.5 years, I have learned the hard way that having your child murdered is excruciating and gut-wrenching, but so is the process in finding justice and some level of accountability. A small amount of justice could have come the day of the shooting if one of the Broward sheriff's officers would have rushed into the building and confronted the shooter.
But they
He may
didn't
have
because
killed
they were
himself
cowards.
or been killed, saving our families the heartache of having this trial in the first place. Or even prior to the shooting, others like the school and FBI could have taken effective action to stop the killer from easily shooting Carmen to death.
You're not
in
allowed
her
to say
AP
that.
psychology class.
You're not allowed to say
But
that.
none of those things happened. So I was hoping that this trial and the jury's verdict of a death sentence would provide some level of accountability for the murderer. Although one death sentence does not even come close to the 17 homicides and 17 attempted homicides he committed. I am still shocked at how members of this jury could decide a life sentence for someone whose life goal was to harm and kill others. For years, he plotted and told others that he wanted to get a gun, dreamed of blood and violence, and researched other school shootings. In the months prior, he posted on social media that he wanted to be a school shooter and gather his arsenal. In the weeks prior, he developed a shooting playlist and studied a map of the school. Days prior, he created videos saying that he was aiming for a high body count and wanting to be remembered. And then, to further inflict pain, he chose to commit his acts of hate on Valentine's Day, so that this holiday would never be about love, but of love taken. Rather than trying to build a life for himself, this heinous individual chose to take the lives of others. And instead of sentencing this wicked murderer to death, the same sentence he gave Carmen and his other victims, members of this jury decided in less than 24 hours to give the adult who committed the deadliest high school shooting ever a life sentence, ultimately sending a message to other potential mass shooters that their life might be spared no matter how many other lives they take. This sentence also shines a spotlight on the disparity of our so-called justice system, where others who murder fewer people receive a death sentence. It is clear a few members of this jury value Carmen's life and the lives of 16 others less than the shooters. It is also clear that they do not value the lives of future victims that will come about because of their decision as well. And then it proceeds to what I read previously. Sorry
Thank you.
about that.
Whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Calling Juan Vicente to give a statement on behalf of Philip Shentrop.
Good afternoon, sir. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir. You can put your hand down. Would you please do as the lady before you just did, where you state your name and spell it, and then state the name of the person that you're speaking on behalf, please?
Okay. Juan Vicente, Vicente, and I'm speaking on behalf of Philip Shentrop.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mr. Vicente, do you have a statement on behalf of Philip Shentrop regarding his daughter, Carmen?
I do.
Would you please give it?
Good afternoon. I would like to thank the court for the opportunity to provide testimony on behalf of my beloved daughter, Carmen. My daughter, Carmen, was amazing. I was often in awe of all she had accomplished in her short time. To say she was brilliant is like saying the sun is bright. Both are true, but neither truly capture their magnitude. Carmen taught herself to read at the age of 3 by overhearing my wife teach her older brother. She was a straight A student from her first grade until she died, and she accelerated through school to be a 16-year-old senior. She was a gifted musician and filled our house and our lives with beautiful music, especially on her beloved piano. She was witty and funny and could have our family crying around the dinner table from laughing so hard. She was selfless and glad to offer help to those who needed it. Carmen was president of her youth church group raising money for those in need and volunteering at a homeless shelter. Carmen was loyal and empathetic, a close friend to many. Often quite shy when she was young, Carmen was bursting forth from her cocoon and had become adventurous and courageous. She had become comfortable speaking in public, adulting on her own, and even driving herself to Broward College to take German so she could adventure overseas to go to medical school. She was brave and fiercely determined. Carmen never needed advice on how to get something done. She already knew at her young age that she was unstoppable. All she had to do was just get started. Carmen was all those things and much more. The only thing that could stop Carmen were bullets fired from the rifle of a pathetic and vile coward. As amazing and loved as Carmen was, she has been failed by every institution in our country that should have been protecting her. The FBI, the sheriff's office, the school district, and the mental health system all failed Carmen. The FBI had multiple tips the murderer was going to commit mass murder and did nothing. The mental system shuffled the
Oh
murderer
no, we're saying
along,
it again.
providing services but never actually trying to help. The school district failed on multiple levels, from the school's principal who testified the security of his school was not his responsibility, to the chief of student performance and accountability, who days after Carmen's murder justified unlocked doors and open gates at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas by saying it was a common practice across the school district, to the school safety specialist who saw the murderer enter the school with a gun and ran away or hid in a closet, but never called a code red on the radio. Carmen was failed by the coward Brower, who the Broward Sheriff Office led an MSC to retire in place, instead of dealing with his poor performance. But he was not alone. She was failed by the 7 other VSO officers who stood around while children and teachers were murdered, none having the courage to do what was right and needed. And finally, she has been failed by our legal system, for there is no justice for Carmen and the 16 other murder victims. Failed by individuals whose hubris value the life of a depraved, premeditating, and unrepentant mass murderer over the lives of the 17 remarkable people. Philip Shentry. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Guys, you are allowed to have representatives speak on your behalf. So those parents could have a family friend or
It was
whoever they
called
wanted.
Victoria Gonzalez.
There also may have been an issue of the language barrier, but you could you could pick your neighbor to speak on your behalf. You can elect a representative. Also, people are taking a massive dump on the FBI today. That's interesting.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You can put your hand down. Please state your full name for the record.
Victoria Gonzalez, Gonzalez.
Thank you. State whenever you're ready.
Ms. Gonzalez, are you here today to give a statement regarding Joaquin Oliver?
Yes.
Would you please do so?
Before I open this, I am wearing Joaquin's t-shirt that he wore the night before you killed him. And it says, if you can't read Spanish, it says, you with bullets, I with balls. And I just want to start with that. This is my protection. This is Joaquin with me. Crazy enough, he knew what was coming.
Well, that sure didn't do too much.
I don't know if you remember me, but we did have a class together the year before hell broke loose. I remember where you sat, in the row next to me, a couple seats behind me, and I remember Mr. Guard going around the room, and every day we'd give a different answer from the homework the night before. He wanted to make sure who had it. I remember every day when he would get to you, I was crossing my fingers under my desk, thinking, man, I hope he has it today. Man, I hope he's doing something good for himself. Man, I hope that that he's succeeding. I was rooting for you. Silently in my desk, you had no idea who I was, and I was rooting for you because I felt like you needed someone or you needed something, and I could feel that, you know. I felt how alone you might have felt. Maybe I'm wrong. My softness has been my protection, and maybe it's hurt me, but I've empathized with you, and I've blamed society for creating the hatred in you, and I can't anymore. So I stand here to say that I do blame you, not you alone, but definitely you. Definitely, a lot of people failed. After that class, every single day I met Joaquin after school. And I thought about you, and I didn't even know you. And I was like, thinking about how you could have been suffering. Little did I know, it was just foreshadowing. But now I'm very alone. And I'm very isolated. And I can't make friends, and I can't build relationships because I'm looking over my shoulder. Even emotionally, I can't feel safe. I can't trust people to take care of me. I'm alone all the time. I can't let someone love me. I ask for others to understand this pain. But how? How can anyone understand this pain? Why do I understand this pain? Why? Because of you. How can someone love a person who's afraid of life? That's how I feel. But Joaquin loved me for all of my flaws, for everything. He saw the capacity to grow. He saw that my brokenness made me whole, if that will make sense. He saw light shining through the cracks. But nobody else from then forward is allowed to love me like that. I won't let them. I don't have friends. I don't make them. Maybe people think that we're friends, but I don't feel safe. And that's because of you. But I do want to say, I wish that you met Joaquin. I wish that you met Joaquin, because he would have been your friend. He would have extended a hand to you. He would have loved you. And I say that, and whoever's going to be upset with me is going to be upset with me, but he would have loved you as a human being, because you are a human being, and I'm going to say that. And I know a lot of people won't say that, but you are a real life human being standing right in front of me. You're not some character out of a book, like a lot of people like to think that this is a fantasy, but you're a real person. And I'm sorry that you never saw the love that the world is capable of giving. That's something I've wanted to say to you from the day that this happened. Because the most painful part of this is knowing that the world holds so much hatred that can be funneled into one human being. Like, there is so much hate in your body. And I'm sorry for that. I would have wished you the love that I experienced before you led me to the experience of sitting in this courtroom and listening to a medical examiner tell me that my best friend's head was only held together by the skin of his scalp after you were done with him. That it was like a cherry bomb, quoted, like a cherry bomb went off in his skull. And I will live with that. And you will live with that in a different way. And I won't have to worry if you celebrate it or whatever you do with it. But the point is, I would have wished love for you. I would have. And I want to, because that's who I am, but I can't. And I'm sorry that your heart knows nothing of warmth. I would have wished that for you, and I will say that again. My justice does not lie in knowing if you live or if you die. My justice lives in knowing that I loved, because I experienced a love that a lot of people go their whole lifetimes without experiencing. Joaquin loved me entirely with his whole being, and I choose love. So in the end, I think that I win. I think that I win because I will continue my life honoring something that people believe is a fairy tale. And it's not. This whole thing is so real life. The love that Joaquin gifted me will last my lifetime. It will last many lifetimes. And I'm proud to stand here and say that. And you showed me the importance of love, and that I need to celebrate it, and that I need to preach it, and that I need to wake up every day and make someone smile so that they don't go through the world feeling like you did or you do. I don't wish that for anyone. And I wish that it didn't bring you to what you did. I wish that you had more love in your heart. And I want to say that, no matter who will hate me for it, I wish that you had love in your heart. I wish that. And on behalf of Joaquin, you may have taken my body, and for that, fuck you, but you cannot take my love. And that is all I have to say.
Very powerful. I didn't think she'd reproach her for swearing, but they're going to let her swear.
Jennifer and Fred Guttenberg.
It was for her friend, but it sounds like the family let her speak. And she did everything right. That was a good one, too. So,
Mr. and Mrs. Gutenberg, are you both going to?
10 out of 10.
Yes. Okay, would you both please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You can both put your hands down, and if you would each state your full name for the record.
Jennifer Guttenberg, Gutten.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
And Fred Guttenberg, same spelling, Gutt.
Here we go. Listen to this guy
Nice to see you both.
ring his tampon out about gun control.
Would you like to say something on behalf of your daughter, Jamie?
Yes, I would.
Please go ahead.
So yesterday, I put out a message that I wasn't going to speak. But after yesterday's events, I changed my mind. First, I want to thank you, Judge, for attempting to keep this courtroom from being a circus. The state attorneys for all the hard work that they've done for
Oh, here we go.
way too many years. The victims advocates in Eagles Haven who have supported us every single day, beyond imagination, honestly. So you shouldn't be sitting there with a mask on your face. It's disrespectful to be hiding your expressions under your mask when we as the families are sitting here talking to you.
Fair.
Lowered down in your seat, hunched over, trying to make yourself look innocent. When
Oh,
you're
he
not.
took it off. Wow.
Because you admitted what you did, and everybody knows what you did.
Wow.
I felt the need today to remind this court and this entire country who are the important people here. And that's Jamie, my daughter, and the other 16 victims that were murdered, as well as the 17 that were injured, and countless thousands of mentally injured people from this massacre. They suffered the unimaginable. And as a reminder, there's no question about what happened. Guilt was admitted. I won't take the time to talk about you, because as far as I'm concerned, you deserve zero acknowledgement. I need only to speak about the families who have endured this horror of what you did to our loved ones. Yesterday, the elected public defender said that nobody had to endure what this defense had to endure.
Oh,
Let me just tell everybody
blow me,
what our
honey.
families have had
Don't
to
care.
endure.
Don't care.
For those of you who
This
don't
is not a
know,
tampon
there were many
contest.
rules and restrictions for our families. We
Yes.
were not to wear colors like orange for my daughter,
Yes. The Sixth Amendment is
or
important.
advertising types of clothing
or gear related to our loved ones.
Yes, because
We
there's
weren't to have
rights of
major
the accused.
reactions or facial expressions from what was being said. We had to be quiet. We didn't make a peep. We couldn't make any verbal sounds.
Yes.
We couldn't use our cell phones in the courtroom, even though the attorneys, the press, and everyone else could use theirs.
Okay, that's normal for
We
everywhere.
weren't to be speaking outside of this courtroom because we were unaware of where jurors might be and may run into somebody.
That's
The
typically
list goes on and on.
That's done every time.
And as a reminder, Mr. Weeks,
For
and the
fuck's
rest
sake.
of the defense attorneys, your client murdered our loved ones in cold blood, hunted them down, shot them over and over
Okay.
until
Okay.
he knew he accomplished his goal and left them for dead
Okay.
with no remorse. In
Okay.
fact, he left amongst the other students and stopped for a Slurpee because he was thirsty after his rampage.
Okay. Okay.
I feel our families need to be recognized. Whether in the courtroom or watching from elsewhere, we sat through this entire trial respectfully. We tried not to react while videos of our loved ones were being shown to the jury.
Mm-hmm.
We tried not to react when the medical examiner described their horrific injuries.
Okay.
We tried not to react as we were verbally taken through the crime scene, step by step. Miss McNeil waved her hand at us during her closing arguments, like this, talking about these people, and no matter what the verdict is, that these people will always be suffering from what happened. It was disrespectful. And I'd like to tell you about these people.
You're speaking for your daughter. You shouldn't speak for the rest of them.
We are
Judge,
sad,
control this. Control
hurt,
this.
lonely,
Control this.
empty, and horrified. Yet we are strong, caring, and respectful. Each of us has done our share to try to do positive things every day, regardless of how our lives have been ruined. We have endured the unthinkable and the nonsense of this trial, including the blatant disrespect of this defense team, and now Mr. Weeks. This is a club that nobody wants to be in, but I'm glad that my club is at least with these amazing people. Let me remind everyone again, as other people have, who's important here. Jamie Guttenberg, my beautiful daughter, Nicholas Dworet, Luke Hoyer, Joaquin Oliver, Gina Montalto, Elena Petty, Kara Loughran, Meadow Pollock, Alex Schachter, Peter Wang, Martin Duque, Carmen Shentrup, Helena Ramsey, Alyssa Al-Hadef, Chris Hickson, Scott Beagle, and Aaron Feiss. Along with the 17 injured and thousands of others affected, I never want to hear the killer's name again. Let us remember the victims and their legacy. My daughter is Jamie Guttenberg. She is forever 14 and she is amazing still. And that's what I want people to remember.
I only decided about 10 a.m. this morning that I was going to do this. So I scribbled down a few things. I may ramble on a bit. If I do, I apologize. I see you're still needing to do your thing. So
Mr. Guttenberg, if you'd like to say something on behalf of your daughter, Jamie,
yes, I would.
please go ahead.
Thank you. First, Your Honor, thank you. We've been at this now for almost over 4.5 years. It's the first time I've actually had this chance to address you directly.
Yes, because you
Which
shouldn't.
is, I guess, the way this process is supposed to work. I will be honest with you. For the better part of the 4.5 years, and they can attest to this, I've probably been angry at you more often than not because I didn't know the process. And every time there was a ruling that I felt wasn't good for the prosecution.
Yes, because you're
I got
ignorant.
annoyed. Every time I saw these things coming up from the defense that took up time, that delayed us, that are the reason we're now 4.5 years out, I got annoyed. And I kept on saying to them, why can't the judge do more? Why can't the judge do more? And I need to say to everyone here at this table, You are the most amazing group of people I've ever been connected to.
My God, are you going to
and
suck
I
their
thank
dick?
you. Because your ability to make sure I understood every bit of it, to make sure that everything the judge was doing was to ensure there couldn't be a call for a mistrial. We heard that often. Or some kind of,
fuck you.
Should this
Fuck
have
you for doing
resulted in the
that.
death penalty, an appeal. You always help me to
Fuck
understand it
you.
and to keep me engaged
Mocking
in the
them.
process in a way where we kept going forward together. But you see, for our families, that also meant doing it in silence because we couldn't go public. We couldn't complain. We couldn't act out. And so I want to thank you because at the end of this process, you have been nothing but decent, fair, and firm. And
are you sure about that?
I want you to know that. So I'm going to let everyone know something. Last week, I sat with you, Attorney Sachs, in his office. Watched the video of you. I'm glad I get to see your face right now. Of you killing my daughter for the very first time. You see, all those video evidence that was shown in this courtroom, we didn't see it. Maybe that was to protect us, to protect the public. We didn't see it. But heading into this week, I was searching for answers, for clarity. And I sat with Attorney Sachs and I watched you kill my daughter on video. And unfortunately, I saw you killing many of the others as well. I saw you enjoying it. And I saw also what I expected of my daughter, who was the toughest human being on
You
the
don't have
face
to be
of the
here,
earth,
Sandy.
running for her life down the hallway. And the thing is, my daughter made it to within 1 second of being alive. She actually made it into the stairwell. You shot her with a single shot. You severed her spinal cord, her chest filled with blood in the stairwell. You did that. You did that to the other 16 as well. After I sat with Mike, I did what I often do. I went to the cemetery looking for guidance from Jamie, for strength. And I walked away from the cemetery realizing no matter the outcome of the verdict, nothing changed. Jamie's still at the cemetery. Nothing changed. I'm still a dad who spent every day dreaming of walking his daughter down the aisle, who now will have to endure a lifetime of the reality that I won't get to walk my daughter down the aisle. There are, actually by a show of hands, anyone else in this room, because of him, going to have to endure not watching people they love get married?
This is not really how you should be doing it.
I am a person who has to endure the fact that my daughter is not in the college of her dreams because of you. Out of curiosity, does anyone else in this room have to endure the fact that their loved ones aren't in college? Because of you, I've had to endure spending Father's Day. My wife has had to endure spending Mother's Day. We've had to endure spending our time for birthdays at a cemetery. Anyone else, because of him, have to endure those things? Yeah. Anyone who claims that they had to endure anything close to what we endure, you may want to rethink your language and your choice of words just a bit. I look at you sitting there right now, looking the way you should have looked through the entire trial, like a convicted murderer, in your prison outfit, shackled. It is still incomprehensible to me that when we went through the penalty phase of this trial, which you were already a convicted murderer for, that you were able to sit there looking like Howdy Doody in whatever outfit they felt like putting you in for the day.
Once again,
Your
more
hairstyle,
constitutional
your
ignorance.
mask on, your seat really low like a little boy, faking out the jury as to who you really
Fred's
are.
getting a tampon attack. He doesn't like the Constitution.
We
folks.
endured months
Well,
of watching that show. It was
well,
BS.
well,
But you put on a great
well,
show, I'll tell you that.
well.
You did your job. You got him from not getting the death penalty.
Goddamn right, they brought home the dub, folks. They brought home that dub.
You all can't understand the pain that we go through. But what I will say is that statement yesterday, I actually believe it, that Public Defender Weeks believed it. I actually think you all believe it. You've endured something worse than us, which is why you've behaved the way you have with us.
Fuck you, Fred. Fuck you.
Months we've been here.
Fuck you.
Not a single one of you has actually ever even looked in our direction.
That's not their job,
Made
you
an effort
dumb
to say,
fuck. Their
"I'm
job's to
sorry for
represent
your
their
loss."
client. That's not how that works. That's not how this
Now, I
works.
understand you had a job to do defending.
So
being
then why
defensive,
are you bringing it up,
defending
you
a
fucking
mass
asshole?
murder of 17 people.
You dumb
I
fuck.
understand that was hard, and you were doing your job as you were required to do. But I'm not sure anywhere along the way there was a requirement that you give up your humanity and you give up your decency,
fuck
but you
you.
did.
Fuck you.
That was a choice you
Fuck
made.
you, you cunt. You fucking shit-healing
I got your
faggot.
email
Fuck you.
apologizing for the middle finger stunt. I have it. Okay? Laughing
you.
with him as you're doing it.
Fuck you.
And the crazy thing is, I've reread it multiple times. You actually didn't apologize to us. You apologized that you didn't know
Am I a
the
lawyer now?
camera
I've
was
always
on
been a
while you
lawyer.
were doing that you got caught. That's what we've had to endure. Okay? Because we've always seen you all turning this into that.
Fuck you.
But again, you didn't get the death penalty. You did your job. I hope you're all proud of yourselves.
They are goddamn proud of it. Fuck you again, Fred.
You know, I believe in the Ringo Starr philosophy of life, peace and love. I do.
You don't sound like it.
So with that, I need to address some of the other comments from Mr. Weeks yesterday.
Fuck you. Fuck you,
Suggesting
Fred.
that our families were inciting violence. Comparing it to what happened to Speaker Pelosi.
Fuck you.
When that happened yesterday,
You can't do. I know your tampon slid
my
off,
wife,
Fred.
I started screaming in the house.
Oh, I'm sure you screamed and cried.
So what I need
at
to
your
let you
boyfriend.
all know, all of our families,
Fuck you. You fucking cocksucker. Fuck
because
you.
of what you did,
Fuck you.
I didn't know.
Right
them
now, Fred,
before.
I hope you see this. I hope
I
you.
knew nothing about them.
Fuck
We've
you.
all got to know each other.
Fuck you.
Every single one of these families, because of what you did, is doing amazing things in this country today in the name of safety, in the name of saving lives, in the name of making sure our schools are safer, our streets are safer.
How about the Constitution, Fred?
I travel this
What
country.
about
I
that?
haven't worked since what you did. A real job anyway. I travel the country going to harass politicians
What about the
to make sure we
Constitution,
can do
Fred?
more to reduce gun violence. That's what I do now. And along that path, since Mr. Weeks brought up the name Speaker Pelosi yesterday, and fine, we're trying to incite some kind of violence. Here's the crazy thing. Because of what I do, I actually know Speaker Pelosi. I know her well.
Do.
And anyone who follows
Probably
my
hung out
story
with her
knows
husband,
she's a
didn't you,
really
Fred?
important person to me in my life.
Not after the
And so
election.
I don't know if Public Defender Weeks is in the room or not. But for him to have trivialized and minimized that real act of violence to make a moronic, stupid point.
Hammer time, Fred.
Shame. That's all I can say. Shame.
Shame. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I'm going to end with this.
Come Tuesday.
For almost
it won't
5
matter
years,
no
we've
more,
been
baby.
silent. We were silent through this trial. We sat here. We held it in. But I'm going to share something.
Yes, I'm
personal.
sure he's good at holding a job before this.
On the day of the medical examiner visits where they discussed Jamie, I need you all to know, because this gets back to the word endure, what we endure. That while I was sitting there, I was having chest pains and shortness of breath.
Too bad it didn't finish the
And you
job.
want to know, I didn't say a word.
Because you're
I
an
didn't
idiot.
want to hear you called to the judge because it happened in front of the jury and asked for a mistrial. And so I sat there with chest pains. And the second the second the medical examiner finished talking about my daughter, my wife immediately got me out of the room. And I ended up with weeks of testing from a cardiologist, and thankfully I am okay. I have a broken heart, but I am okay.
Sound like you have a broken vagina.
The need to sit here silently.
Everybody clapped.
While you all did what you did.
It's called the
While you had a
Constitution.
neighbor who you put on this little show running around the room, who didn't really know him. He lived in a house behind a house across the street, met him once in person. He ended up under cross-examination acknowledging that. You actually spoke about the neighbor in closing statement. But the neighbor didn't actually know him. Okay? We watched this. We endured this. And yeah, it got to be too much at times that I developed a health issue over it. But again, I am okay. And I'm going to be okay. And I am going to go forward with my wife. And we are going to continue to build our foundation, orange ribbons for Jamie. And everyone else back there, they're going to continue to build their amazing foundations, doing all the amazing work that they
all these nonprofits, all these
Just so you
nonprofits, all these nonprofits.
Because of you,
all these
our
nonprofits.
foundation is starting a new program called Paws of Love. We're going to be providing emotional support dogs to victims of gun violence. So the next time somebody
All the
does
guys
what
in
you
the hood?
did, we'll be there for them.
All that
That's
money,
who we are.
a lot of money.
To
there, huh,
suggest
Brad?
for 1 second
How much money is that going to get for
that
you,
we would
brother?
be the kinds of people, or anyone back there would be the kinds of people who would incite violence, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. But you said it. Can't take it back now.
Tampon wrangling Fred.
So I'm going to leave it here. I'm only looking to see 2 more things happen today. One will be your formal sentencing of him. And the other one, I want to see Gordon Weeks resign before the end of the day today.
Oh, fuck you. Fuck you. Suck my dick, Fred. Suck my dick. You unconstitutional, undermining shitbag motherfucker. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Ms. McCann, if you need a few minutes.
So much
you
for
can
your
let me
kid's
know. We
memory.
can take a recess or we can continue, but whatever is the preference of the witnesses.
I think we can go forward, Your Honor.
Okay.
And that would be to have Ms. Linda Schulman, please.
Maybe, Justin, but you're still here listening to me.
Sorry, Mr. Michael Schulman.
Justin, yes, imagine that. I am concerned about the constitutional rights of the people
Good
accused of
afternoon,
crimes
sir. It's
being
nice to see
protected.
you.
Good morning.
Weird,
Please
huh?
raise
That's
your
a
right
weird
hand.
thing
Do
to
you
be worried
solemnly
about.
swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Will you please state your full name for the record?
Michael Schulman, Schulman. May it please the court. I have been a practicing attorney in New York for 45 years.
Okay.
I speak to you today both as Scott's dad and as an attorney. I address the prosecution. You did not lose this case.
Yes, they did.
Thank you.
Yes, they
Mike,
did.
Carolyn, Jeff, Nicole, Stephen, and Aaron, and the entire team of victim advocates and everyone who stood by us for the last 4.5 years. Your tireless dedication to trying to obtain justice for our murdered loved ones. You put on a marvelous case. You did not let us down. Again,
They did.
You did not let us down. We are disappointed in the verdict, not you. Understand that. We are disappointed in the verdict, but not you. Judge Scherer, I have been before many, many judges in my 45 years as an attorney. You have presided over the most notorious and heinous case, probably in the history of Florida jurisprudence.
Bet Ted Bundy's worse.
With the eyes of all of Florida and most of the country on you, I commend you for your poise, knowledge of the law, and command of your courtroom, no matter how many times people tried to bait you. As for the defense, you did not win, and you.
Yes, they did.
The system failed us. Okay? Not
They
the
certainly
prosecution,
won.
Not the court. 12 people voted that your crime was heinous
calculated, premeditated, and cold-blooded. That's enough for me. That you recognize the type of person, I take that back, the type of animal that you are. Calling you a person demeans everyone else here. I will not waste my time going to chapter and verse of all the inappropriate actions of defense counsel. I agree with everything Matt Schachter said. I agree with everything Patricia Alvarez said.
More tampon ring.
Zealous representation of the confessed murderer does not mean flipping the bird when you think the cameras are not on you. This is simply not professional. My wife and I sat in the courtroom when you,
Okay.
Mr. Weeks,
Oh no, they flipped the bird. Oh no.
okay, but you should be embarrassed if you are, had the balls to say on the record with the families of those murdered sitting in the courtroom that no one has endured what he, and meaning the defense, has endured. Are you freaking kidding me? I'm not going to repeat what Fred Guttenberg said because he said it so eloquently. Ask me if I feel sorry for Mr. Wheeler or Ms. McNeil, who had such thin skins that they objected during this proceeding over what was said. No one threatened any of your families. Did you see the gun? Did you see the film? Did you see the
Cry,
picture
you
of that
fucking
piece of shit
bitch.
pointed at my son?
Cry. Cry
Did
harder.
you see him going down?
Cry harder.
That's a threat.
Cry harder.
Words that were said yesterday
Cry harder.
by those people were not threats to you.
Cry harder.
Grow a set of thicken
Cry
your
hard.
skin.
Yeah, you don't know
You
what
are
it's
no
gonna
better
balls
than
are, so
he
you
is.
can't tell him.
If you
Cry
take
harder.
offense to that.
Fucking cry, baby.
This man, this animal, this piece of shit, this bastard took the lives of 17 people.
This judge has lost the
You have a
courtroom.
right to defend him. You have no right to demean the people who lost somebody.
Oh, poo babe. Gross
If
thicker
I had
skin.
done
Grow thicker
1/10
skin.
of what you did during this entire proceeding, I would have either been disbarred, brought up on charges, lost my license. But no, you did what you had to do because you were defending the indefensible. You've all had your 15 minutes of fame. Every one of you. It's done. You're done. I never want to hear your name. I never want to see your face ever again. Our family sat in silence, like Fred just said. We had to endure listening to the testimony over and over again. 17 medical examiners testified about what your bullets did to our children's bodies. And you sat there with the same freaking expression you have now. None. Cold, no emotion, no remorse. What type of animal are you? We avoided all social media. We avoided saying anything to the press. We sat here and endured. We were afraid, as Fred said, of a mistrial because every time anything came up, the first thing you heard is mistrial, mistrial, mistrial. Mr. Weeks, how do you live with yourself for making such an indecent,
Seriously, Judge, stop this
insensitive,
now.
and unprofessional
This is
statement
not a
like you did
victim
yesterday?
impact statement.
No
This needs to
one
stop.
had to endure what your attorneys had to endure. I'm sorry, but I don't believe any of your attorneys or our loved ones were murdered by the bastard your offices represent.
This is why it's wrong.
If I had done half of what you did, I would have been held in contempt of court. Because
No, you wouldn't
judge
have.
would allow that.
You
And
would
for
not
that,
have. You would
I
not have.
credit the judge.
You fucking
Because she
liar.
knew by doing
You
that,
fucking
we
liar.
could have a mistrial immediately.
Liar.
I admire her jurisprudence.
Mimi, this is why I
I
hate them,
admire
because
her,
they're
the way she
perverting it.
controlled this courtroom, in spite of everything you people did. Now, I want to tell you why I'm here. On February 13th, 2018, I was home in bed with the flu. My son Scott called me to see how I was doing. Said, not so well. He said, don't worry, I'll speak to you tomorrow. That never happened. But let me tell you more about February 14th. February 14th is also our daughter Melissa's birthday. Do you now know people don't want to call her on her birthday because they don't know what to say to her? They don't know whether to say happy birthday or I'm sorry. 2 days later, we were sitting in my mother-in-law's home in Palm Beach Gardens, February 16th. We were sitting with a funeral director. That's my birthday. My birthday memory is sitting at a table planning my son's funeral because of you. Know how we got down here? We live in New York. I was watching TV, CNN. I was sick. They report a mass shooting in a city, town, school in Florida. Parkland, Florida. What do I know about Parkland, Florida? Scott was teaching. What do I know? I called my wife. I said, Linda, what's the name of the school that Scott teaches at? And she said, I don't know, something with 3 names. We found out it was Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. We heard on the news that a geography teacher was shot. Couldn't get a plane down here. There were no commercial flights down. We had to charter a commercial, our own jet, to fly us down here and sit in the Marriott, the command center, for hours, not knowing what happened to our son. We sat there with all these people, some of them crying, some of them scared, not knowing what the hell had happened to their loved ones. You talk about the victims. Yes, Scott was a victim. There were 16 other victims who were killed. There were 17 other victims who were shot. There are thousands of people in Parkland and all over the world, okay, who were affected by what happened here. Scott was a camp counselor. For 28 years, he was a camp counselor. When Scott was murdered, we went to arrange his funeral, and the rabbi said to us, how many people do you expect here today? We said, well, we're not from Florida. I don't know, maybe 100? There were 1,000 people in the room. But not only that, the rabbi said he's been getting calls for us to live stream his funeral. 500,000 people watched that funeral. So don't tell me your life is worth more than his, ever. Let me tell you about Scott a little bit. See on my sleeve? Which sleeve is it? Just Run Faster, okay? Scott was the cross-country coach at Stoneman Douglas. After one meet, his students were very, very upset that they lost the meet by a few points or minutes. I don't know how they calculate that anymore. I don't really care anymore. And he looked at us, they all came to him, all upset. What do we do, coach? What do we do? He didn't say, well, you were reacting to this, you would do that. He just said, looked at all square in the face, said, just run faster. That's the phrase used by all of the MSD cross-country teams. Now, just run faster. That's how he treated his students. That's how he treated his team. He was honest with his team when he got the job at Marjorie Stoneman. He said, I know nothing about cross-country coaching, but if you teach me about cross-country coaching, I'll teach you about life. And he did. And know what he did? 4 or 5 days after the shooting, there was a memorial concert at one of the facilities here in the city. We sat there, someone pointed us out, and a nice Irish grandmother with the thickest brogue accent I've ever heard in my entire life. She needed to come with a translator, that's how thick it was. Tapped my wife on the shoulder and said, I love your son, but I never met him. Okay, I'll bite. She said he gave her her granddaughter an assignment. Call somebody who you don't know that well, from another country, who grew up in another country, and find out all about that country and what they lived through. She called her grandmother. They stayed on the phone for hours. The grandmother said, up until that point, I spoke to my granddaughter maybe twice a year. Now it's twice a week. You destroyed that. You animal destroyed that. You took my son away and a teacher away that loved his children. Someone you never met. You never had anything to do with. That's what you did. You're a bastard. You're a freaking animal. One more little story. I apologize, Your Honor.
Okay.
Scott volunteered to go to South Africa. He spent 2 months in South Africa, teaching students in South Africa. He came back from South Africa, just like this. His mother said to him, "Gosh, the airline lost your luggage," because that's what a mother would think. She said, Scott went, "No, Mom, that was the hand. Mom, when I was in South Africa, those children used to beg to get into the classroom." He said, "Here in New York, they pray for snow days. In South Africa, they don't have shoes. In New York, they look to see who has the best Nikes. I left all my stuff." That's what you destroyed. That is what you killed. That's the spirit that you don't have and never had. With that blank freaking stare on your face, okay, you should only rot in hell. You fired 139 rounds of ammunition on that day. 139. You could have stopped at any freaking time. After the first freaking bullet, you could say, "Oh my God, what am I doing?" But you didn't. You continued to fire. And after the first floor, you said, "What the hell am I doing?" No, you had to go to the second floor. You had to go to the third floor. You had to walk past Jamie Guttenberg's body like she was a piece of trash on the floor. That's what you did. You show no remorse. You have no redeeming values. You're a coward. You're a freaking coward. You dressed up to blend in with the people you terrified that day. So don't tell me you had no planning abilities. You planned the whole thing out very, very well. The fact that I have to share my world with you is disgusting. The fact that I have to breathe the same air you breathe is reprehensible. I can't wait till that ends. Your sentencing today does not end the book. This chapter is done. But what we're missing is the epilogue. And for me, I look forward to reading that epilogue. What will happen to you in jail? You'll be passed around like an inanimate object. Your protection will be paid for by your commissary and probably with your body. You'll be someone's bitch, and you deserve it. Passed around from group to group until you get tired of it. You will be a commodity, traded like bubblegum, cigarettes, drugs, or candy. And one last point, or maybe not last point. My 70th birthday is February 2024. My hope, my prayer for my birthday present is to get word that you are dead. That the justice system was done in jail. That the prisoners that you and inmates that you have to associate with executed the judgment that this court can't. And I hope that it's the most painful judgment ever. Hope that when your final death comes, you have the same fear, the same agony as the 16 people you killed and my son. Hope that your death is slow and agonizing, because it won't be like a state execution. Prison justice is a bitch. When your fellow inmates execute the death penalty that you deserve, they will do so in such a cold, calculated, heinous, painful manner that you'll be wishing that the state of Florida had executed you in the compassionate way they must by law. Finally, I have one request, Your Honor. I'm sorry. I just want to say one more thing. In spite of you, in spite of that cold stare, in spite of that ice water bullshit that runs through your veins, in the fact that you have no remorse, no feelings for anything or anybody, we will survive. These 17 families and all the victims of your heinous crime will survive. We will go on, we will make the best of our lives, and we will deal with the daily grief, pain, and anger that we feel every day. I have to learn to live with the pain you caused to my entire family. You are the worst kind of animal. Contrary to the defense, one of the mitigating factors were you are a human being. Trust me, you are not. You are the lowest form of pond scum, and I apologize to pond scum for equating you with them. You are spineless and soulless monster. My son Scott was a human being. He still is. Something you will never be and never were. He has a soul. He was kind. He has a character, and he cared for his fellow human beings, something you never did. Now, one last request, Your Honor. I apologize. I would like to make a formal request to you, or to whoever it has to be on the record, to the Public Defender's Office. I'm requesting that under the Freedom of Information Act, that the Public Defender's Office make available to me within 30 days, including but not limited to the following documents: each invoice to experts, each billing statement for work done, each and every invoice for disbursements incurred for the representation of the shooter, the amount paid to each public
This
defender,
tampon
and
jizzy.
compensation to any person. who
Drizzle
was
your
compensated
tampon
to
out, you
represent
fucking
the
asshole.
shooter.
This is all done to
This
shame and
day
harass
has been
people.
long coming. Didn't know how it'd feel right now.
This is bullshit.
Don't feel any better because he's still breathing. The day he stops breathing, I will feel better. Thank you.
Now you know why, guys, you don't let this go on. Because now he's talking about trying to harass and intimidate the public defender's office. Fuck that noise. Fuck all that noise. Oh, sitting there crying about his son, and then what's he do? Try to do that? How is that relevant? How is that a victim impact statement?
This is Linda Beagle. Stoneman.
Good afternoon. Is it Beagle or Schulman?
Beagle Shulman.
Okay, good afternoon, Ms. Beagle Schulman. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the
It's an
testimony
expression.
you're
He's
about to give
just
is the
whining
truth,
and
the whole
crying
truth,
his
and nothing but
tampon
the truth?
soggy.
I do.
Thank you. You can put your hand down whenever you're ready.
Ms. Schulman, would you like to give a statement on behalf of your son, Scott Beagle?
Yes, thank you.
Please do.
It has been 1,723 days since you murdered my son, along with 16 other innocent students. My son Scott was the geography teacher and cross-country coach at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, which you heard all about from my husband. In spite of your desire to kill as many students as possible, Scott, realizing that you were in the school and on a killing rampage, he did what he had to in order to save the lives of as many students as he could as possible. He managed to save 31 students before you killed him. This is my son, Scott. I've had 15 days to ponder the jury's verdict, and I realized that the death penalty was way too easy for you. I learned that here in Florida, the average death penalty case takes 18 years from sentencing to execution. That means that I would probably be dead before you were executed. I will go forward knowing that you are going to a maximum security prison with other murderers, much tougher than you are. A prison where you will spend the rest of your miserable life having to look over your shoulder, worried about every single minute of your day, of your life, and scared out of your mind, fearful for someone to take you out. A prison where you will be other inmates' boy toy. A prison where your fellow prison inmates are just waiting to tear you apart, because from what I hear, child killers are highly frowned upon and hated in prison. You will look back at the time that you spent in the Broward County Jail and see it as it was a hotel compared to the prison where you are headed. As far as I'm concerned, real justice would be done if every family here were given a bullet and your AR-15, and we got to pick straws. And each one of us got to shoot one at a time at you, making sure that you felt every bit of it and your fear continued to mount until the last family member who pulled that last straw had the privilege of making sure that they killed you. That's real justice for you. I wish for you prison justice, since that cannot happen. And I welcome the day that I am told that you've been tortured and taken out for your cold-blooded, premeditated, calculated, heinous murders, because you deserve no less. Your notoriety is over today. You will no longer be anything but a number here. And I can tell you, I have never uttered your name, and I never will. To me, you'll always be the confessed, convicted Parkland murderer. I have one last request for the media, and this is definitely something that I would really like to have you take to heart. All of the media, not just the people who are here, all the media. Do not give this animal the notoriety he craves. Out of respect for the 17 families whose loved ones were murdered by this animal, an animal that continues to show no remorse, please do not use his name in your reporting ever again. Please refer to him of who he is, the confessed, convicted Parkland mass murderer. Please bear with me for a little longer. Promise not like Mike, I promise.
Okay. It's okay.
To the state's trial attorneys, Michael Sachs, Carolyn McCann, Jeff Marcus, Nicole Chiappone, Stephen Klinger, Aaron Savitsky, as well as your entire staff, including the victims' advocates. When we first began this case, you answered all my questions, and I had so many questions. You explained to me that this is the perfect death penalty case because I was not aware of what the difference really was for the death penalty or life in prison without parole. Mr. Sachs, you took the time and explained and promised me, you said, this is a very important case. The reason we go for the death penalty in this case is because you and your team wanted to make sure that it was not going to be just another mass shooting. You promised that the Parkland shooting case, every single one of our loved ones would be known by name, by face, who they were, their age. Nobody, if they ever heard Parkland again, would not know about every one of those loved ones that were murdered. You fulfilled your promise. For that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. You kept your promise. The case that you all put on was flawless, okay? You proved every aggravating factor. Every one of you, for me, and I'm sure I speak for all the families, you were patient, you were supportive, you were kind, you were caring, you were in this with your hearts, you understood, you answered every single question, no matter what time in the middle of the night. We had all your cell phone numbers, okay? You became a family. You became a family to me, and you became a family to Michael. I cannot thank you enough. To you, Judge Shearer, thank you for handling this extraordinarily difficult trial in such a professional and compassionate manner. Thank you so much for everything that you've done. To everyone who can hear my voice or see me today, these are the names and faces I want you to remember. These are our loved ones who were murdered on February 14th, 2018. These are the innocent lives that we will remember and celebrate forever. Alyssa Alhadeff, 14. Martin Duque Anguiano, 14. Nicholas Dworet, 17. Aaron Feiss, 37. Jamie Guttenberg, 14. Chris Hickson, 49. Luke Hoyer, 15. Carol Loughran, 14. Gina Maltalto, 14. Joaquin Oliver, 17. Elena Petty, 14. Meadow Pollock, 18. Helena Ramsey, 17. Alex Schachter, 14. Carmen Centra, 16. Peter Wang, 15. My irreplaceable son, Scott Beagle, 35, I will honor, cherish, and love for every day of the rest of my life. Thank you.
Can we have a short break, Your Honor? Sure.
All right. So we're gonna get to this. Bunch of comments here. Seriously. I mean, what do you want me to say? I get they're upset and they're hurt. But to sit there and scream and yell at people doing their job and act like it was so wrong that they weren't allowed to make emotions or alter the jury or affect the jury and deprive Nikolas Cruz of his constitutional rights, you're right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't do that. We should just let juries and we should let trials turn into emotional sob fest where the juries can be swayed improperly. I'm sure you'd really want that. It's not something I want, though. Mimi, my hatred for these families, it's not hatred for them. But this judge needs to control it. This has turned into a shit show. This is clown shoes of epic proportions now. These people get to come in and they're swearing repeatedly, disparaging counsel. Like, that's not acceptable at all. He's an attorney. He acts like he should know better. And then to come in there and demand all the information from the public defender's office. Why? To harass and terrorize and try to ruin them. This is not a victim impact statement. All that stuff was nonsense. It was fluff. It shouldn't have been talked about. You're up there, talk about your son. What happened to him? Because that part I'm all about. And when his mom talked about him getting raped and passed around, sure, fine, whatever. But that part there, no. Nope. Then Fred Gutenberg going up there to do it. Fuck it. I don't care. It's all hollow to me at this point when you're going down those roads. If you're really there for your kid, you'd be worried about what happened to your kid and your family. Not worried about some attorneys doing their jobs. To sit there and argue about what they said. Really? That it just rings a bullshit to me. So that's why I wasn't going to let slide. It should be called out. This is a courtroom. It's not Festivus in the airing of grievances. You don't get the right just to scream and yell like a retard like that. The Photo Viper says, you talk about the Constitution, but you're mad these people are exercising free speech. You don't have free speech in a courtroom. You don't. The court's supposed to enforce decorum and controls. You don't have free speech. Daniel's saying, if the defense truly did something wrong, can they file a complaint with the bar? Yeah. You can complain to the Florida State Bar Association or the Public Defender's Office. These people didn't do something right. Pete Weiner, is there anyone to tell the judge she did the wrong thing here, allowing defense counsel to be attacked? Nope. Nope. Nobody's going to be able to do it. Because in the 90s, this was their chance to speak. Did you want to make a Facebook post instead? You have the right to talk about your victim impact. You want to get upset about what somebody else did? Fine. Go do it. But not here. Go do it on Facebook. These people shitting on the FBI, they shouldn't have been allowed to do that either. Talking about the cops and the system that failed. That really shouldn't. No, focus on what happened to your daughter or your son. Why they're not here. That's the focus of a victim impact statement. But to rail on and on about the police and everybody else, no. It's not what it's meant for. And some people gave brilliant brilliant, moving statements. And some of these were just ridiculous and political grandstanding. So yeah, I'm not going to just sit here and say like it's all okay. Donald Trust and Believe says, could the judge pull a directed verdict and sentence him to death anyway? No, she cannot do that. She can override the jury recommending death, but she cannot override the recommendation for life. Particularly because the jury's verdict was not unanimous, number one, but you don't have that right to impose a harsher punishment in that situation. Free Flyer 1978 saying he's never practiced criminal defense. You can tell. Yeah, he really hasn't been in a courtroom before. That attitudes like that. Oh, I'd be getting disbarred or I'd be getting sanctioned. No, you wouldn't. The judge would say, shut up, sit down. You have the right not to be insulted and accosted by members of the courtroom. Mr. Squiggle says for $5, they're trying to cancel the public defenders. Exactly. Eventually, this will bite us in the rear if we let it happen. Yeah, you can't let people do this. Everyone's entitled to offense, and you know what? The defense happened to get it right. Okay. You have to live with that world. You don't want to live in the other kind of world. I can assure you that beyond a doubt. Senor Spielbergo saying Sean's unable to take the knee because he took an arrow to the knee. Yes. D Soul says the holdouts in Casey Anthony publicly admitted they were wrong. And sure, those people might publicly admit they're wrong here. And I think they should, fess up to it. How many years do you think he'll get? He's going to get life without parole. That's all she can give him. She can't give him any less. Really. I mean, I wish she could impose the death penalty because he deserves it, but that's not what the jury did. Susan Winshittle saying, why didn't the judge, if I mess that up, or Scheitel, why didn't the judge get to decide a sentence as Judge Darrow will for Brooks? She ultimately does get to decide it to an extent. With death penalty cases, though, the jury then has to determine your guilt. And that's done in every state. Now, there are times where you may let like a panel of judges try your case for a death penalty case, and then they decide it. But the judge alone doesn't get to decide it during the penalty phase. At the end of it, though, they can, like I said, the jury gets to make a decision. And then in this case, life without parole, the judge has got to follow it. Radioactive Girl Scout saying, what was Nicholas's IQ? I think they said it's between like 83 and the 90, so he's not bright at all. Not bright at all. IDK saying fan mail. Oh, people like this get fan mail all the time and can get fan mail till the day he dies. Ted Kaczynski gets fan mail. Matt is saying, is there a worry that the comments around the jury will put off people from taking up jury duty in the future? Certainly. I mean, these guys are up there acting like lunatics, lashing out at everybody, and the court's not controlling them. Yes, this could affect things down the road. People are not going to want to sit on juries if they know that people are going to hound them and berate them and shit all over them. That's a reason why. This is just tamponic screeching from these people who are bitching about things they truly don't understand. You heard Fred Gutenberg the whole time. I just didn't understand it. Yeah, it's because you didn't care to understand it. Yes, we have a constitution. It's kind of fucking important. But you didn't understand it. Okay, well, you don't understand it clearly when you're in Congress. But you don't understand it all the time. Okay, great. There's a reason why it has to be followed, though. Tarkina saying, are the jurors sitting there hearing this too? I actually don't know if the jurors are. They've been excused. They've already rendered their verdict. Kyle Cotton saying, when you keep saying they can't do that when they dump on the FBI, you're not supposed to be running around saying that the government, it's a victim impact statement. You shouldn't be doing this. Although I think it's hilarious they're pooping on the FBI. But, you shouldn't do it. It's unprofessional. You should be focusing on the victim stuff. Justin Smith saying, I've seen zero emotion out of Cruz. You're not going to see any emotion. Mr. Squiggles for $5 saying, sounds like to me, too many of these parents are attacking judicial system or process during this trial. Sure. And it's okay to be upset. It's okay to be upset as a victim, but being a victim doesn't give you the excuse to do what they're doing. And being a victim does not make you right. Yes, Harry Dick Chef for $2 says, I want to talk to the defense manager. Yep. 6.8 SPC. WTF is going on. This is a victim impact statement, right? Talking about other people is out of scope and this should be stopped. It should be, but the judge won't do it. She has no idea how to control a courtroom. Class reductionist says he loves the state, not just the prosecution, but the entire state. Talking about Gutenberg, of course he does. He likes to see people disarmed at the behest of the state. Free Albemuth says, why do people have such a problem with emotionally damaged people venting? What is the harm? You have the right to vent, but you don't just get the right to lash out at anything and everything. You still have to act like an adult. We still have rules. We still have decorum. We still have things that need to be abided by. Certainly, if they started screaming at the judge and blaming her, she wasn't going to let that happen. But she lets the defense get picked on. And that's not acceptable. So, no. You don't, just because you have trauma it's not a free pass for you just to go wild out in court. Mema X for $1.79, £1 and 79 sterling. Is she Bronca's first wife? Maybe. Corn Pop says, do you have any compassion for them? I do have compassion. When they're doing the things they're supposed to be doing. But I don't have compassion for adults going out and intentionally doing something that your daughter passed. Your daughter's gone. Focus on your daughter. To sit there and scream and yell at these attorneys for doing their jobs and berating them like that, I don't have compassion for you. Sorry. You're still an adult. I mean, we're talking about Cruz is an adult. He knows what he's doing. You don't get that pass either. If you don't want him to get it, guess what? You don't get it either. Got to do it the right way. And then to sit there and turn that into a political grandstanding thing like, well, I know Speaker Pelosi and we're good for... Fuck off. That's not where you do this. He needs to go wring his tampon out in the bathroom and come back in like a big boy. Mr. Squiggles for $5 says, is it possible the prosecutor may have to hold them to add these comments to their statements? It seems too political and done on purpose. No, these people are highly political. Like Fred Gutenberg was the guy who, when Kavanaugh was getting his confirmation hearing, tried to like run up and shake his hand. Now, a lot of these people are political actors now, so they didn't need help for that. Peter Watkins for $1.99 says, grifting. Okay, grifting over your kids, not okay. Yeah. I mean, how many foundations do we hear about? How many nonprofits? Harry Dick Chef for $5 says, that's it. I'm starting a foundation. Pussy love. Emotional attack cats for victims of watching this trial. Yeah. Zach says, why are you against this guy? Because we have to have rules, and I can't. These people claiming they're the righteous ones and then doing this rings hollow. And the Fed for 2 Canadian pesos says, taking an amber and picturing the toilet as Cruz. I can get behind that. The Photo Viper says, fuck those lawyers. It deserves to be rated. Not in a million fucking years. They did their job. You want to go bitch at someone? You bitch at the prosecutors for not sticking the landing. That's like you complaining the cornerback intercepted the pass. Why? That's his job. If you're mad, go get mad at the quarterback and the offensive line for not doing their job. Get mad at the wideout for not running the right route. Do not get mad at the guy whose job it is to stop it from happening, from stopping it. And the Fed for 2 Canadian pesos again says, JFC, that woman's hairline. Yeah. Corn Pop says they were bitches yesterday. Not at all. They're doing their job. And for those people to come up and attack them, that was uncalled for. And also using that argument of, well, what if it was your kids? That is a bullshit emotional argument morons use. So no, they had every right to be opposed to that. Peter Watkins, to the people hating on PCs, the defense attorney, I am. And I believe in the Constitution. It should be protected. It should be, you have the, right to a fair trial unless people get really sad about something you did. Sorry, doesn't work that way. And the Fed for 2 more Canadian pesos. That charter jet, how much is that? Yeah. Yep. Kyle Bogue for $5 says this has gone way too far. Ridiculous. Manic X 195 for $2 says, could he be reported to the bar for those statements? Yeah. When you're an attorney, you're speaking on the record somewhere. Yeah, he could be reprimanded to New York, but New York's not going to do anything about it. They wouldn't in this case. And the Fed for $2 says nobody cares about the loss of a New York banker. Okay. Free Flyer 1978 for $5 says, I bet some of them are anti-death penalty when it's not personal. They probably might have been, but that's still that's a separate issue for a separate day. Zach Johnson says, would you rather the parents go after the one juror who voted for life instead of the defense attorneys? How about they don't go after any of them? Why aren't you going after the prosecutor's office? Like, why aren't you going after them, the big bad prosecutors? They've got money. Why aren't they being held accountable? Because you don't want to pick on the people you think are on your side. It's easier to pick on the others. Lancelot 562 for $10. Thank you very much. Says, I saw a bit of a statement from Nick's stream, and even though the guy's a monster, he still deserves representation, and the defense doesn't deserve being attacked for it. Exactly. Because what's going to happen? Eventually, you might need representation, and what? You think anybody's going to want to represent you if they're going to get yelled at and harassed like that? Probably not. Is it normal to have Sassy Lass? By the way, I don't think I've seen you before. Hello. Is it normal to have so many public defenders in a case like this? Yes. Remember, he's got a whole team of prosecutors. In a capital murder case of something this big, yes, you're going to have a team. You need a team. You can't just do this with like 2 people. There's going to be a lot of people involved. But look at the prosecution side. They had a lot too. It is not something you can just do by yourself or with a partner. The Photo Viper says it makes sense a lawyer simping for lawyers. Yeah, that's exactly it. Although the prosecutors are lawyers too, so. The Malapropa says these attorneys aren't just doing their jobs, they're doing outlandish stuff too, like giving the court the middle finger. Okay, yeah, they did it once. Okay, they did the middle. Oh no, they did a middle finger. Oh no, okay, they did a middle finger. Okay. Did they whip their dicks out on the table? Did they, sit there and build like a model of Auschwitz of matchsticks? Like, what did they do? Oh, the middle finger. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, the vapors. Okay, fine. They did the middle finger. What about the rest of this then? If they did it, address it, punish them, and move on. But to keep dragging it out like this is bullshit from the judge. Harry Dickchef for $2 says, I know Pelosi is not the flex he thinks it was. Well, come Tuesday, it won't be. Corn Pop says, to say they were inciting violence is bullshit, and you know it. Hey, apparently words are violence nowadays, so if they felt threatened, they have a right to say they feel threatened. I mean, they do. I wouldn't have done that. I would just said this is entirely unprofessional and nonsense and needs to stop. But if they may have felt threatened, they may have been special little snowflakes too. Jolly Jake Lavelle says, it seems the judge is vicariously allowing the families to abuse the defense counsel for a grudge she's harboring from the course of the trial. Definitely. I think that is very true here. Pope Rackets Touched Me for $5 says, much love for sticking by your principles as a defense attorney and the Constitution when others won't. Definitely get lawyer hate until they need one from the state. Yeah. Well, that's the point. They stay where the principals stay where they are. I don't care if it's he walked in and murdered 500 kids. That's a shame for $4.99 says, have you seen the White Bear episode of Black Mirror? Highly relevant. I would get it. No, I've not seen it. I've not seen Black Mirror, really. I've been telling you to watch it. Free Album says, anyone here arguing he shouldn't get a fair trial, or are they arguing that these people should be able to express their anger even if it's stupid and illogical? Okay, well, you don't get to express your anger if it's stupid and illogical at people who don't deserve it. That, like, would they be allowed to sit there and just start screaming at the janitor or the court reporter? Well, but it's stupid and illogical, but they're grieving and they're victims. Oh, okay, by all means, please go ahead, keep yelling at the court reporter. No, you don't get to do that. We're adults. We abide by rules. You don't get to scream and ree at everybody you see that something's not going your way. Focus it on the guy who did the bad thing. Be an adult. There's a difference between doing your job as a public defender and revealing just how depraved you've come by befriending the guy. I mentioned this before. They've had to know him for how many years now? To act like you wouldn't have any rapport, you wouldn't develop any sort of relationship with somebody like that is nonsensical and disingenuous. Would be impossible. You can't just sit there and go like this. Yes, Mr. Cruz, I agree. And go back. No, it doesn't work like that. Never works like that. Never will work like that ever. You would never want it to be that way either. Just a map nailed to the wall says, how hairy is this thing? Yeah, he is a hairy dude. Nikolas Cruz is very hairy.
Are present. The defendant is present.
Judge, if you could just indulge us for a couple more minutes while the witnesses come back in from the Eagles Haven room, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Parallax and people are spurging out. Let them spurg. We're not tamping that down here.
Everyone's here?
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
The state would next call Miss Andrea Kersey.
Oh, not every time at all, Katie. I've backed the state before.
Hi. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You can put your hand down. Please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
Andrea Gersi, Ghersi.
Thank you.
Ms. Kersey, would you like to give a statement on behalf of your brother Joaquin Oliver?
Yes.
Please do so.
Okay. So I wasn't going to say anything until yesterday's events. So I will start with this. To you,
I would never, ever, ever sit down and write anything about you and take my time. So like Debbie Hickson said, you will cease to exist after today. I just hope that your fellow inmates take real nice and cozy care of you. Okay. So I wasn't going to say anything today, but in light of yesterday's events, I decided I would not allow any of you to make us out to be the kind of people that resort to any kind of threats, especially threats towards children. No one in this courtroom has had to go through what we have had to go through. Statement by Gordon Weeks. What exactly have you had to go through? Did you have to sit here for the past few months and listen to medical experts describe how many shots your loved one received? How much they suffered while being hunted down by the murderer? Are you that out of touch? Ms. McNeil, were your feelings hurt yesterday? Because here I
Judge
thought
needs
you
to
were a
stop it.
soulless
This is
person
once
along with
again
your
bullshit.
fabulous team. Since the entirety of this
This
trial,
is
you have behaved as
nonsense.
such, not once looking over at us, instead feeling empathy and compassion for the murderer. Whatever so-called attacks you're receiving,
Yeah.
you brought upon yourselves, each and
Mhm.
every one of you. Had you
should
handled
be
this case
stopped.
with more class and professionalism, we perhaps could have focused our negative feelings solely on the murderer. But professionalism, class, and respect is something only the prosecution seems to be acquainted with.
Yeah, this is
I will
ridiculous.
repeat your words. Remember, this was a personal moral decision you all made. Like when you decide to marry someone or when you don't want to marry someone. So look into your heart, look into your soul, and learn to live with the fact that you condoned the slaughter of 17 innocents.
Fuck off.
But I promise you that one day, I don't know when, you will ask yourself, did I make the right decision? Thank you, Your Honor, for the way you conducted this entire trial.
Yawn.
Mike, Jeff, Carolyn, Nicole,
Fuck
Steven,
you.
Aaron,
Shook you.
and
Fuck
Lauren.
you, sugar tits.
Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. You did not fail any of us at all. You are part of my family, and we are eternally grateful for each and one of you. Eagles Heaven and state advocates, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
See, this is why you guys don't let that happen. This isn't. Is that really? Was that a victim impact statement? All of you out there saying this is nonsense and getting mad at me? Come on now.
Good afternoon, Mr. Oliver.
Good afternoon.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, yes.
Thank you, sir. You can put your hand down and please state your full name for the record.
My name is Manuel Oliver, and I am Joaquin Oliver's dad.
Mr. Oliver, would you like to say something on behalf of your son Joaquin?
Yes, I do.
Please do.
I was advised not to be in this room since the very beginning of the trial, because if I have said something wrong, you guys could complain, and then I will feel very guilty.
Yeah, that's a
Not only
constitutional
for
issue.
my family, but for the other families. So I took an advice from some of my friends here and decided to stay home and watch you guys all time, and watch my brave girls, Andrea and Patricia, doing what they did. And I saw how this doctor was explaining the autopsy of Joaquin. Details that I was avoiding, because I always hoped that Joaquin did not suffer. But he did suffer. You shot my kid 4 times. You blew his head, his marvelous brain and ideas and dreams. You destroyed them
shot him 4 times. You needed an AR-15 to do that, because otherwise Joaquin will have beaten the shit out of you. But you were coward enough. And you can't be cowards in this life. Hiding your actions. The middle finger, lady. Apologizing for a middle finger. You need to learn how to do a middle finger.
So they did it and they apologized, and now you're gonna juice your tampon. Juicing your tampons again, sir.
Yesterday I've heard all of you concerned about your children. It's ironic and unreal. The whole trial.
Why is this not being stopped?
Oh, don't mess with my kids, my children. Keep away from that. Really? What about our children?
That's not how this works, buddy.
So for a minute, the trial was about protecting your kids.
Yeah, because you came after theirs. Because you came after theirs.
I was told not to use profanity here. I won't. I'll try.
Judges, let this turn into a fucking shit show.
I think that one of the reasons that you did this, I'm talking to you right now, is to be famous. So I think that someone will steal that fame from you. Whoever takes care of you will own that fame. And someone will. You're going to die before me. And I will celebrate when you die. I heard you saying that you don't want to suffer. You don't like painful things. You understand that you will suffer and you will go through pain. A lot of pain. It would be much easier die like a king in a supervised way that everything goes. I wish I could die like that. That's not your future anymore. A lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and someone will replace your fame. And I'm closing this chapter today, but you're not. Your chapter opens today. And Joaquin is with us, his mom, with me.
And see, now he's on to the part
We
I
are
think
with
is
him
great.
every single day. That day, you didn't kill me. You didn't kill Patricia. So we are still Joaquin's parents. And Andrea is still Joaquin's sister. And we do what parents do. We come here and let you know what is right or wrong when you fuck with our children. And a lot of people will hate all of you guys now. And they've seen your faces. And you can complain about what I'm saying right now. I don't care. Go ahead. I'm the last speaker, by the way, so I don't think nothing will happen if you say anything right now.
Oh, now you're threatening him.
And I have another message for you.
But that's okay, Judge, I guess.
It's not cool what you did.
It's not cool what you're doing either.
All the kids, the youth, that along with Patricia
and myself work tireless every single day on debating gun violence and change the future of this nation, hate you. So if you were trying to be the cool guy, you're not. You're the worst. How does it feel? Nobody likes you. Sad. You know who they love, Joaquin? They love him. They send him messages. He has followers, millions of followers for all around the planet. And they will keep on following Joaquin while you are afraid of going through pain and die.
Yeah, I don't
Someone
think
will
anybody
see
liked
your face.
Cruz.
And this should be our chance to be very clear, sending a precedent out there, which is something that I was hoping it could happen here, but I'm afraid it didn't. Because if we have a death penalty option, again, you have heard this 1,000 times, and we're not using it to take care of this monster, then when are we going to use it? So people that do what you do should be punished. And we have the chance to show everyone that that is an option. And we wasted that opportunity. So now, the families, including myself, we need to declare that precedent. That is wrong. People like you don't deserve a space here. And that's why we are so clear speaking. We're not talking to you. You guys think that the whole universe goes around you. We are not talking to you. We don't care about you guys. You get offended like I'm talking to you. I'm talking to a whole nation. He doesn't deserve to be here.
Okay.
Here in this society.
Okay.
But, as my wife said, karma. Oh, I'm crossing that line again. You did a great job.
Yes, Kurt, a lot of
You're
juicy
better. I know
tampon
that.
screeching.
Can
If
feel
you want a
it.
link, I'll
Saw
send
it.
it to you.
And I admire all the families that were here, spending hours, days. I was with you. I was crying in my office. Breakdowns. But I followed my friend's advice. Stay home, man. Well, not today, because today.
I know, stay home so we don't cause a mistrial. It's so
Dress
funny.
however I want.
When your daughter was killed by guns, you wear a Sex Pistol shirt. That's a little weird. But it's just me.
Do I feel better now? I don't know. Tomorrow, you guys are going to go back to your perfect lives, enjoying your family. Tomorrow, we're going back to our thing, missing our kids. And you are out of the picture. And you will be erased.
It's Razor Ramon.
Sooner than later. It's time for you to be afraid of me. Thank you.
He's not afraid of you. You can't get to him. Or are you gonna come after him, Reza? You're gonna catch him in the cell and be like, are you gonna get arrested so you go to prison to catch him, or what? Like, for you to be afraid of me? That was some limp dick machismo.
Your evidence that you wish to present at this time?
Yes. Yes, Johnny Rotten would be ashamed. But now you guys understand why I have a problem with this nonsense of sitting there screaming at the defense attorneys like that. I don't know how much longer, but not too long.
Good afternoon, Mr. Silvershine. I've had the opportunity to read the state's memorandum of law with regard to sentencing, SF 231.
Kurt, if you
Does
can
the
get here,
defense have
whenever you get
any,
here is fine, man.
Objections to the state's interpretation of the law and the maximum sentence to be imposed on all 36 counts of the indictment? 34 counts, excuse me.
No, Your Honor, we've also had an opportunity to review the score sheet. We see no errors in that.
Your Honor, Joel Silvershine on behalf of the state. We've submitted a guideline score sheet which reflects a lowest permissible sentence of 1,029 months. That's been provided to the defense. At this point in time, as to the sentence regarding counts 1 through 17, which is murder in first degree, under Florida statute, chapter 775.082, there's only one sentence that can be imposed at this time, and that is life imprisonment.
Hello.
Possibility of parole.
Talking about the sentence
As
now.
to counts 18 through 34, which is attempted murder in the first degree with a firearm, those are life felonies. The court has the ability to sentence under the criminal punishment code to life imprisonment. The lowest permissible sentence being that over 363 points also gives the court the ability to sentence the defendant to life imprisonment on those counts. Additionally, the court needs to consider the ability of the court of these sentences to run consecutively. And under the case law, under chapter 921.16 subsection 1, that can be done. The court does have that option. The court also has the ability to sentence the defendant to life imprisonment on those counts involving attempted first degree murder, where not only because of it being a life felony, but for those crimes for which great bodily harm was alleged under the 1020 life law, because the guilty plea of the defendant acted as an admission or a confession to everything that is in the allegation in the indictment, that allows the court under that particular statute, which is the 1020 life law, to be sentenced to life imprisonment under that. For those 9 counts which did not involve, which was not alleged to have great bodily injury, where there is possession and discharge alleged, those crimes must have a 20-year mandatory minimum, also assessed along with what the state will present will be a request for life imprisonment. Those are legal ramifications as far as sentencing guidelines are concerned.
Yeah, but this is perfunctory, but they have to talk about it.
One other thing I would ask the court to address. On October 28th of this year, this would be SF 232. The state filed a notice to the defendant in the Department of Legal Affairs regarding Florida Statute 924.512.
Savvy,
That
see we're
is
coming up
the
to it.
Florida version of the Son of Sam law. And I read as follows. Comes now the state of Florida by and through the undersigned assistant state attorney and gives notice to the defendant in the Department of Legal Affairs that the state of Florida intends to invoke the provisions of Florida statute section 944.512, commonly known as the Son of Sam law, should there be royalties, commissions, proceeds of sales, or any other thing of value payable to or accruing to the defendant or a person on his behalf, including any person to whom the proceeds may be transferred or assigned by gift or otherwise from any literary, cinematic, or other account of the crime for the crimes for which the defendant is convicted. Any proceeds will be distributed as provided by law. This has been provided to the defense. I have also contacted the Department of Legal Affairs, and they acknowledge receipt of this as well. And with that, I will defer to Mr. Satz.
Your Honor, we would ask for the maximum sentence for the first 17 counts of the indictment of murder in the first degree. we would ask the court to sentence the defendant to consecutive life sentences. For the
You'll get it.
17
You'll get it maxed out.
counts of
Yeah, yeah.
first-degree murder.
They just have to do it.
To counts 18 through 34, the attempted murder in the first degree, we would ask the court for each one of those.
And do we want the
17 counts,
public defenders to go to prison
life in
too?
prison. Each one of those 18 to 34 counts.
I was waiting for that to happen.
People shouldn't hate on the public defenders. They're doing their job.
And all 17 of those.
Oh,
counts
this
of
was
attempted
a.
first-degree murder, all be
I know, I've heard.
consecutive to the
This was a
first 17
tampon commercial and an autism
all
festival.
34 counts to run consecutive. All 34.
They don't believe in the defense lawyers, I guess.
Well, a couple of them don't, including Fred Gutenberg. Makes you wonder how insufferable these people were to their kids in real life.
Just sentence him.
Yeah, well,
Just
this
give him
part.
his 17 just give him his 17 consecutive plus whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah, just recording restitution for a moment.
sure.
Because I think it's applied to the defense and to the court, 34 restitution orders.
Honor, do you have the permission to clip anything out of this today?
Individual restitution orders for the victims for count, but also reserve jurisdiction for the amount of restitution. I have been in touch with Mrs. Neal and informed her that we are still gathering the various numbers of paperwork for the individual victims and families. And I believe she was in agreement with the court ordering restitution, but setting aside and reserving jurisdiction for a later time to have a hearing on restitution.
So there's no amount on any count currently. It's just you want me to enter an open order of ordering restitution and reserving as to the specific amount on each of the 34 counts. So I may be misreading part of the sentencing memorandum, but it's my understanding that each and every count that has alleges an actual possession and discharge, which is all of them, should have also a 20-year minimum mandatory prison sentence under Florida's 1020 life statute.
No, Your Honor. There are 9 counts which do not allege great bodily harm.
Okay.
There are 8 counts which allege great bodily harm.
Right.
And under the 1020 life law, it's 25 to life. We're asking the court, in addition to the life sentence, which the court can impose, also a life sentence under section 775.087.
But wouldn't all of the 17 counts of attempted first-degree murder, because there was and it's not alleged anymore because he pled to it, a proven fact of a discharging a firearm, wouldn't that they all have 20-year minimum mandatory prison sentences?
Some are 25 to life, of the way they are charged in the indictment.
So I understand you're asking me to sentence all 17 counts of attempted first-degree murder to life in prison.
Correct.
With a 10-20 life firearm minimum mandatory prison sentence.
Depending on the way that the count is done.
So I saw where you said 20 years on 19, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 27, 31, and 32.
Correct.
And then what minimum mandatory are you asking, if any, to impose on the victims that suffered great bodily harm?
It's 25 to life. So it would be life imprisonment
With a mandatory life.
minimum life imprisonment under 775.087. And those will pertain to the following counts: 18, 20, 26, 28, 29, 30, 33, and 34. So it'll be life mandatory under 775.087 for counts 18, 20, 26, 28, 29, 30, 33, and 34. And as to counts 19, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 27, 31, and 32, life imprisonment with a 20-year mandatory minimum under Florida statute 775.087.
Defense, was that your understanding of the sentencing memorandum or the reasoning in the
Since
state
potentially
sentencing
criminal
memorandum?
is now gone, I'd just like to take this opportunity to remind you to check your subscribe button. Is your subscribe button red? If so, it is angry and angry with you. But this can be rectified merely by clicking on the red subscribe button. It will become a gray, peaceful subscribe button, integrated as we all should be. Click the red subscribe button today.
You may. And while the sheriff's office, I don't believe there's a representative here, but I think the defense can answer my question. I received an agreed order as to civil restitution lien to Broward Sheriff's Office, but the amount is much different than what was originally asked for. And so that's why I hadn't signed it yet.
So, it is an agreed order between the defense and Broward Sheriff's Office. I believe there's a statutory cap of $250,000. I believe that the cost of incarceration far exceeds that.
So you all are agreeing to the
The
statutory
subscribe
cap?
buttons are black now.
I have copies.
Okay. All right. Is your
I
subscribe
have
button
the- I have
white?
the order right here. I
If
just-
so, it's hot with the fury and angry with you. But you
Yes.
can calm it down by making it a calm, peaceful black subscribe button.
Soothe the beast.
All right, Mr. Cruz, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You can put your hand down. And Mr. Cruz, you pled guilty before this court on all 34 counts as alleged in the indictment on October 20th of 2021.
Oh, it is white.
At that time, I questioned you in depth as to your ability to understand the proceedings, your ability to consult with counsel, your ability to follow along. My observations of you during the course of the trial, including today, are that you are in fact following along, that you are in fact consulting with counsel when needed, and that you are not having any difficulty understanding the proceedings here today. Sir, has anything changed since the time that I accepted your plea, other than the fact that during your plea you were not on medication, and it's my understanding that you are now on medication? Is that correct? Are you taking your medication as prescribed by your medical physicians in the jail? You're not taking any more or any less, is that correct? And is your medication affecting your ability to understand what's going on here today? Are you having any trouble concentrating? Are you having any trouble understanding me when I'm speaking to you, or understanding any of the witnesses as they're speaking? And you're able to follow along sufficiently? Do you have any questions about what's going on today? Have you had sufficient time to speak with your lawyers? Okay, at this time, the court's previous finding that the defendant is making a knowing, intelligent, and voluntary
Marla, we'll
waiver
get
of
to
his
this in a
rights stands. I do believe that he is competent to go forward in this proceeding, and that's based upon his answers to my questions, as well as the court's own observations of the defendant. Before I impose the sentence in this case, I want to thank the family members for the privilege of learning about each and every one of your loved ones. I can tell you that they will not be forgotten. And I feel that I know each and every one of them by the personal stories that you have given. By way of example, Mr. Beagle, I remember as the witty teacher with the dry sense of humor. Luke Hoyer as the unexpected baby that came but was so welcomed by his mom and dad. And these are just two that I'm remembering off the top of my head. You all have been so strong and patient and graceful throughout this process. And I can't help but think of how I would behave or respond if I were in your shoes. And the way that you have grieved so gracefully and have shown extraordinary restraint throughout this process is something that I've never seen. And as a group of people, you are so strong and so united that if anything good came out of this event, I feel seeing you, I can know that you are all going to be okay because you have each other. I know that that doesn't help at all. And if I could take your pain away or carry your pain for you just for 5 minutes so that you could breathe, I would. Because I can't even imagine what you go through each day. You are a wonderful, strong community. And I also want to tell you that when I visited that school, I expected tragedy and sadness, which is present. However, that school is still thriving, and it's a beautiful campus, and it's not broken like one would expect. And I think that that is due to the strength of you all and your community. And I think that when people remember that school, they're going to remember the strength of the community and how, I mean, every one of these kids came up here, the survivors, and testified as to the schools that they're attending and how well they're doing. It speaks volumes to you all as families, and the care and the love that you provide your children. And I couldn't help but notice when the survivors came in and testified that their family units came with them and were there for them. And I can't think of any other instance in one community where so many children would have not one, not two, but a group of loving family members to support them. And that's how I will always think of MSD, just as a great school that will survive, like you all have. So many of you thanked me. I want to thank you because you were ordered so that we could have a fair and clean trial. You were ordered not
Has the
to
defendant been given a chance to speak yet?
have emotional reactions.
Not yet, no.
It just seems odd that she's giving these
Show
comments before she
restraint
gives the
that I
defendant a
don't
chance to speak.
believe. I think I
Yeah,
would be like
yeah,
Mr.
but this
Oliver,
judge
and
was
I
letting
would keep
people run
being in my
roughshod
offibut
and
because I don't
drop
believe I would
F-bombs
be able
and
to show the restraint that you all
clearly
showed,
not make a
and I
statement to
thank
the
you for
defendant
that.
at all. And she has no control of this courtroom. She's a joke of a judge. Imagine how she acts when the cameras aren't on.
It's a tough case. I mean, I'll give her some slack.
You know, Judge Duro had a tough
It's
case
the
too, but she
sentence
held
of
it
the court
together.
as follows.
Oh, I forgot. Yes, he did waive his statements.
Okay.
Count 1 of the indictment, the murder in the first degree of Luke Hoyer. The court imposes a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. Count 2 of the indictment, the murder in the first degree of Martin, Duque, and Quiano. The court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. Count 3 of the indictment, the murder in the first degree of Gina Montalto. The court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. Count 4 of the indictment, the murder in the first degree of Alexander Schachter. The court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. Count 5 of the indictment, the murder in the first degree of Elena Petty. The court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. Count 6 of the indictment for the murder in the first degree of Alyssa Al-Hadef. The court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. To count 7 of the indictment for the murder in the first degree of Nicholas Cruz, the court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. Count 8 for the murder in the first degree of Helena Ramsey, the court imposes a life sentence, mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. Count 9 for the murder in the first degree of Christopher Hickson, the court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. Count 10 for the murder in the first degree of Carmen Shentrup, the court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole.
I don't think that's going to save him, Justin.
Count 11 for the murder in the first degree of Aaron Feist. The court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. Count 12 for the murder in the first degree of Scott Beagle. The court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. Count 13, the murder in the first degree of Meadow Pollock. The court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. Count 14, for the murder in the first degree of Kara Loughran. The court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. Count 15 for the murder in the first degree of Joaquin Oliver. The court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. Count 16 for the murder in the first degree of Jamie Gutenberg. The court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. Count 17 for the murder in the first degree of Peter Wang. The court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. Count 18 for the attempted murder in the first degree of Ashley Baez. The court imposes a life sentence with a minimum mandatory. Mr. Silverstein, it's 25 to life? Or do I?
We're asking for life, Your Honor.
With a mandatory life sentence under Florida's 1020 life statute. Count 19
she doesn't
with
know.
the attempted murder for the attempted murder of William
She's
Olson.
not the best judge.
The court imposes a life sentence with a 20-year minimum mandatory sentence under Florida's 1020 life statute. Count 20 for the attempted murder in the first degree of Kashaba Magnapuram. The court imposes a life sentence with a mandatory life sentence under Florida's 1020 life statute. Count 21 for the attempted murder in the first degree of Justin Colton. The court imposes a life sentence with a 20-year minimum mandatory prison sentence under Florida's 1020 life statute.
I think she might be screwing this up, unless I'm not following
Count
correctly.
22 for the attempted
She
murder
brave,
in the
strong
first
woman.
degree of Alexander Dorette. The court imposes a life sentence with a 20-year minimum mandatory prison sentence under Florida's 1020 life statute. Count 23, the attempted murder in the first degree of Genesis Valentin. The court imposes a life sentence with a 20-year minimum mandatory prison sentence under Florida's 1020 life statute. Count 24, for the attempted murder in the first degree of Daniela Menescal. The court imposes a life sentence with a 20-year minimum mandatory prison sentence under Florida's 1020 life statute. Count 25, for the attempted murder in the first degree of Samantha Grady. The court imposes a life sentence with a minimum mandatory of 20 years Florida State Prison under Florida's 1020 life statute. Count 26, for the attempted murder, Mr. Silvershine, I see you're standing up. Did I misspeak? Okay. Count 26, for the attempted murder in the first degree of Samantha Fuentes. I'm imposing a life sentence with a minimum mandatory of life under Florida's 1020 life statute. Count 27, for the attempted murder in the first degree of Isabel Checker. The court imposes a life sentence with a minimum mandatory prison sentence of 20 years Florida State Prison under Florida's 1020 life statute. Count 28, for the attempted murder in the first degree of Samantha Mayor. The court imposes a life sentence with a life minimum mandatory prison sentence under Florida 1020 life statute. Count 29, for the attempted murder in the first degree of Benjamin Wickender. The court imposes a life sentence with a minimum mandatory of life in prison under Florida's 1020 life statute. Count 30, for the attempted murder in the first degree of Madeline Wilford. The court imposes a life sentence with a minimum mandatory of 20 years Florida State Prison under Florida's 1020 life statute. Count 31, for the attempted murder in the first degree of Marian Kabachenko. The court imposes a life sentence with a 20-year minimum mandatory sentence under Florida's 1020 life statute. Count 32, for the attempted murder in the first degree of Stacy Lapel. The court imposes a life sentence with a 20-year minimum mandatory prison sentence under Florida's 1020 life statute. Count 33, for the attempted murder of Anthony Borges. The court imposes a life sentence with a mandatory life sentence under Florida's 1020 life statute. Count 34, for the attempted murder in the first degree of Kyle Lamont. The court imposes a life sentence with a minimum mandatory of life in prison under Florida's 1020 life statute. I am ordering that each and every count of the indictment run consecutive to one another.
Your Honor, on count 30.
No surprise.
On count 30, that is like 25 to life, not 20 years.
Madeline Wilford.
Okay, excuse me. I misspoke. On count 30, there is alleged and proven the use of a firearm, discharge, and infliction of great bodily harm on Madeline Wilford. So I am correcting my previously imposed sentence. It is a life sentence with a mandatory life sentence under Florida's 1020 life statute. Again, I am ordering that all 34 counts of the indictment for each sentence is to run consecutive. That is one after another. I'm ordering all mandatory court costs, all costs of prosecution. I'm ordering the costs of incarceration of the defendant by the Broward Sheriff's Office. I'm also imposing a public defender fee pursuant to Florida statute. I'm ordering restitution for each victim as previously named in counts 1 through 34 of the indictment, with the specific amount to be determined at a later time. I am ordering pursuant to 943-325, the defendant is to submit to 2 samples of his blood or less intrusive method for purposes of the DNA bank. Mr. Cruz, you are remanded to the custody of the Department of Corrections to complete the mandatory life sentences imposed by the court. You have 30 days to appeal the judgment and sentence of the court. If you fail to appeal within the allotted time period, or you fail to contest the imposition of any of the fees or costs imposed during that 30-day period, you will waive said appeal. I am also granting the state's motion under the Florida equivalent of the Son of Sam law, which means, Mr. Cruz, you will not be able to benefit in any way as far as monies are concerned as to the crimes that you committed. In addition, I am going to order the Department of Corrections to garnish the commissary account of Mr. Cruz until all of restitution and costs of prosecution and costs of the sheriff's office are paid in full.
You make enough license
Department of
plates.
Corrections, I don't know where you're going, but they can assign that duty to their local office where they will charge an applicable fee and garnish your commissary until all of these amounts that I have previously ordered are paid in full, specifically the costs of the sheriff, the state, and any restitution that is ordered. Is there anything else from either side?
Not from the state, Your Honor.
Is there anything from the defense? It was previously waived. Then there was some discussion about whether it could be in a death penalty case, but the defense is maintaining their waiver of a PSI. Mr. Cruz, you're still under oath. Are you in agreement that you're not asking for a PSI in this case? Okay. Is there anything else?
No, Your Honor.
All right, he's remanded to the custody of the Department of Corrections. And he's to be given credit in the amount of 1,718 days time served.
Well, yeah, 1,718 days down.
Yeah, only
I guess
all of them to go.
Yeah, yes.
You got
go
enough? You
get
got
'em.
enough police officers there?
Well, that's more protecting him than anything.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Oh. He waived the right to speak, Larry. D, what's saying, is he crying? No, he's putting his mask back on. He truly must not care. He must be doped up on some Valium or something because he had no emotion at all.
That implies that, he had emotion to give in the first place, which I'm not
Sure.
sure is true.
Definitely. So anyways, hi, Kurt. How are you doing?
Good. I mean, I'm not dissatisfied with the sentence. I would have been happier with a death penalty sentence, but knowing that he will spend the rest of his life looking at a wall forever, watching the days pass by with no hope, is also somewhat validating, I have to admit.
Oh, no, I agree. I fully agree. And yes, I would have loved for him to sit there and have to deal with old Sparky, but that wasn't on the cards.
No.
Now,
Now, garnishing his commissary is just kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. I just find it hilarious that we're going to garnish whatever piddling wage of money he's getting forever, because he'll never pay back the amounts that we're talking about.
Sure. Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, I don't know if you covered this last night. People said you were getting enraged about some stuff on your own, but I don't think it was about this.
No. It was about the Supreme Court oral arguments.
Okay.
In the Students for Fair Admission case, because there was a lot of stupid.
Oh, well, yeah, I heard about the Alito claiming, well, I'm a Native American now because somebody told me I was.
Yeah. That was a nice little burn.
Yeah. But no, I don't know if you heard about this yesterday. This basically turned into a let's shit on the defense counsel day. And yes, I get it. Oh no, they stuck a middle finger up. Oh my God. That's like killing 17 people. We should just scream and let our tampons just drop everywhere because they're so soggy. It's the travesty of the century.
I mean, everyone's entitled to the right to an attorney, and their attorneys did their job in diligence, and apparently were able to
Mhm.
convince a jury who had the ultimate determination.
Yeah, and
So, you know,
honestly,
okay,
yeah, yeah, and they're like, "Well, the
fair.
prosecutors, you didn't do anything wrong, but you guys." It's like the one girl got up and she said, "I'm not even talking to you, Cruz," and immediately just started shitting all over counsel. The judge didn't stop it. Woman had no control over that courtroom. It was
Yeah.
pathetic. Um,
And I
and
do
let's
like
ta-
the fact that it was just going to be quietly forgotten. You know, turned
Yeah.
into a put into a hole and quietly forgotten is as much as he deserves.
Oh, and that part should be, but the way the judge conducted this should not be. But yes, he
No,
should
I
be
agree.
forgotten about. But let's talk about prepping for $5. Do my job as a public defender, laughing along with him. You're apologizing for them. Dicks on their tables. Come on, man. Well, that's my point. What did they exactly do? Did they take out their dicks and slap them on the table? No. The guy they've been working with for 1,718 days, yeah, you're going to develop a rapport with that person in an even shorter time. He may have made a joke. He may have said, how do if your refrigerator running? No, you better go catch it. Like you might chuckle. And
Yeah.
you can't just sit there like you're processing this guy's bank loan. That's not how this works. So
Yeah,
I get
it's
it.
not realistic. I mean, and people use comedy often to
Yes.
cut against tragedy.
Yeah, and also prepping, I mean, they're all laughing in the back. So, like, should I say they're all bullshit and this really didn't affect them? Because at some points they were laughing together. I mean, everybody uses laughter. Everybody uses jokes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at that point, if we could say, oh, well, if they laughed, it doesn't matter. If you laugh, you're not sincere. I don't think you want to go down that road. Not saying you specifically. I'm just saying we shouldn't go down that road.
I mean, their job is very simple and baseline.
Yeah.
It's the job of every attorney. Rule 1-1 is
Yeah.
zealously represent their client competently.
Bring home that dub, and they got it. That's their
Yeah.
job. And I said this before. You can scream and cry at the cornerback for intercepting that pass. Why aren't you yelling at the quarterback? Like that guy, one side got the win, one side didn't.
Yeah.
That's how this goes.
Yeah.
Nuance Observer says, I'm not for mob rule. Yes, I'm not for rule by emotion in that regard. Jordan Crow says that Gutenberg guy asked for Mr. Weeks, the elected public defender, to resign. Why? Because Gutenberg's tampons were sliding out. And Kurt, you don't have to stick around for this part, but I'm going to be unleashing on people. No, that because he's an emotional beta. That's his answer. He wants to talk to a manager. He thinks that's not right. That's why he wanted the guy to resign. Why? Because these guys represented their client and they did it the right way. That's why he wants them to resign. That part was just a little nonsensical, I thought. I don't know if you heard any of that.
No, except that
Okay.
you're saying.
Yeah, well, Gutenberg's also the guy
I
running.
wasn't really watching this because I didn't really see the point in it in a lot of ways.
Well, I think those defense attorneys needed support. They deserve it.
No, I agree with that.
Rich
Defense
G
attorneys
says-
have to do their job. That's what their job is.
Yeah. Well, and then one of the parents of one of the victims gets up. One of the teachers like, I'm an attorney, and as Rich G says, acts like a total pleb in the middle of it. He's like, I would have been sanctioned if I acted like you guys. Like, no, you wouldn't have. You're defending your client, and like that just tells me alone this guy's some sort of transactional lawyer. And then he
Hey, don't
at
hate
the
on
end,
the transactional lawyers. We're all right.
I know, but he's trying to act like he's been in the trenches, and it's like, and then he says at the end of his thing, he's like, Judge, I demand this through FOIA, and I will be getting it. I'm going to demand all the expenditures they made on this case, the experts they hired, how much these people were paid, and it's like none of that's being done except to solely harass the public defender's office, even if they give it. It's like and for those of you out there saying, oh, they have the right to be mad and sad. Do you really want, like, God forbid you need help, your attorney getting hounded like that? Is that really what you want? No, that's Soviet level bullshit. That's bullshit I expect in Eastern Europe. That's bullshit I expect in everywhere else in the world except for here. That's just nonsense. D Watt says the salt will be flowing. Yes, it was. Demon's Wrath says the Kiwi farm seems to be back up. Yeah, it's been back up for a day or two. Teresa Warbet says, oh my God, what is wrong with you? These people's families were hunted down. Sure. And they're victims. and they have every right to come in and address their grievances. But being a victim doesn't excuse you to assail people doing their constitutionally appointed duties.
Yeah,
Being
I
a
mean, the
victim
defense lawyers are doing everything
Yeah.
lawfully. They're
They
not the
did their
ones
job.
They're not the ones who hunted the family down.
Yeah, they did their
And
job.
so,
Yeah,
you know.
it's you don't get the right to just spurg out on people in court because things didn't go your way. Like we have rules, and we're supposed to have those rules.
Yeah.
So it was I was just infuriated me the way they did that. Just a map nailed to the wall for $4.99 says, "Can we get a poll on Smash Boobs McGee versus Judge?" Yeah, here's the thing though, that lady, this judge, dude, there's a lot of spackle on there. Like everybody's like, "Oh, she's so hot." I'm like, unlike Judge Doro,
Wow.
I think there's a lot of spackle on this judge, Judge Shear. Besides, given how she acts, I don't know if I'd want to hang out with her. She seems very quick to trigger. Ric Flair says this is prosecution worship, not victim statements. Yeah. And the judge should have been able to direct them. She should have controlled them saying, "Sir, you're not here to address the defense team. Address the defendant." Or like when the big burly guy at the end, the Razor Ramon impersonator, gets up there, he's like, you prosecutors, the world knows who you are now. It's like, okay, if we're talking about threats, like that's not a threat. Like, come on now. That's
I
not
think I'm
where
going
this is.
to go ahead and sign off. It was nice
All
being
right,
with you
Kurt.
for a while, though.
I'll see you, Kurt. Yeah, take care. But yeah, this is prosecution worship, and I don't blame Kurt for taking off. This is kind of radioactive, I bet. Savvy Sue says, "Why are they sworn in? If you're speaking on the record, you have to be sworn. You're expected to tell the truth." Now, the prosecutors and the defense attorneys don't have to because they're officers of the court. But everybody else, you've got to be sworn in. That's all in the record. When the court reporter is done typing this up, if Nikolas Cruz ever wants an appeal, or if you were to ever request the record of this trial, you wanted the transcript, you would get the paper and it would have every single word said on the record. Therefore, it has to be sworn. Pope Brackets touched me for $2 says, "I don't agree with Gitmo rights or rights and F the state." Thanks. JP says, "Oh no, it's evil man bun, Sean." Diamonds and Hannah says, "I'll say it. I say allow it. Can't take the heat. Don't become a defense attorney or don't take this kid's case. This kid's a monster." What happens when you're appointed? They're the public defender. Like somebody has to represent him. So if they were forced, if their job, if their boss is, "You're representing this guy," like what? Somebody acts to do it at some point. Lancelot says, "Is it free reign to snipe at the defense for doing their job?" Yeah, it looks like it was. Michael Borashanis says, "Can the public defenders complain about the judge?" Yeah, but it's not going to go anywhere. They could try to grieve the judge. Nothing's going to happen. Dragon's Treasure says, "Does this victim impact circus run any issue on appeal somehow?" No. Now, if the death penalty had been imposed, if the death penalty had been recommended by the jury and the judge is weighing it over, yeah, this could be an issue about improper victim impact statements, but it's a foregone conclusion. He can only face life in prison. The judge cannot impose a greater sentence than that. So ultimately, no. Now, would a court say, "Wow, you really should have controlled your courtroom better"? Sure. But it's not coming back. He's going away. He's not going to get resentenced. There's no issue here. Not at all. It's a good question, though. Tarkina Meyer says, "Seems to me this is worse than berating defense. Could this not be considered incitement to violence?" Yeah, when he says, "And look at you, people are going to know who you are forever." Yeah, that wasn't meant to be happy, which I think is bullshit and bullying and intimidating. Notice he said all that because he knew nothing was going to happen to him. I doubt he does that on the street. And the Fed for 2 Canadian pesos says the jet guy told the inmates to kill Cruz, an implied hit job. No. And they all made the arguments about, how he's going to get raped and assaulted, which I think is hilarious given those people would say they would probably think homophobia and whatnot is wrong, but the idea that getting raped is something that happens in prison is kind of homophobic, and to argue getting raped is, having homosexual activity with someone as a punishment, kind of homophobic, but hey, whatever. The Pants Maestro, the only reason that this defense bashing is allowed is because they hurt the judge's fees. She's letting this go on as payback. She shouldn't be a judge. Yeah, she needs some training. She needs some training, definitely. Stephen Cooper for $5 says, this stupid judge makes me wish we could clone Borowski. 100%. He would have been a good judge to have here. Laundry Clip says, when did this start becoming a shit show? Yesterday. Lost in Tunes for $5 says, it's a parody shirt. It says, God save Joaquin and less pistols. Okay, well then I was wrong. Oh, getting arranged bacon. Sorry, I missed this earlier. They stuck the landing. It was one rogue juror. I mean, maybe. I mean, they didn't do a good job at sorting this out, so they let one slip through the cracks. Was this juror really rogue, or they didn't do a good job on it? I don't know. These particular defense lawyers, not all of them suck, and they should sit there and take it. Hard to disagree on the last part. Diesel says 2-year-old Elena Jameson's family took the high road, had the Florida court decide death penalty or life, no parole, no venom for the killer. She'll sit herself for life. Yeah, I heard about that one. Vicky Key says, do you know if they did a mental eval on him? Just curious. Yeah, he was found competent to stand trial. He wasn't found insane at the time. He had like mental health issues, but nothing that was crippling or he was imagining stuff. No, Cruz was just a little. He was a maladjusted kid who had a temper tantrum, and sadly, his temper tantrum. He grabbed a rifle and did all this. So, no, he was a little bitch. That's how Cruz was, and still is, and will ever be. Darla Bernabe. Hope I got that right, Darla. If there was a guilty plea, why do they have this trial? And this is an excellent question. The state of Florida charged him with death penalty offenses. In a death penalty case, you have the actual trial to determine whether or not you committed the crime. And then if you're convicted, the second phase is to determine whether or not you get the death penalty. It's called the penalty phase. So that's why they had the second part. And the second part, since Cruz pled out, he admitted to doing it. Well, we're going to determine whether or not he gets a death penalty. And a lot of evidence was presented. And then the jury came back and said, well, no death penalty. And then the past yesterday and today was the sentencing for that, where the judge has to impose sentence. And part of that is where they come in and say what the victims have the right to come in and make their statement as what they wish happens. So I hope that answers it. If it doesn't, please come back through and ask another question. But that's a very good question. Corn Pops is antisocial and borderline. Oh, yeah. Among other things. Among other things with this guy. Among other things. Cherry Pow Pow says, how will other inmates punish Cruz if he's in isolation all the time? They won't. This is just their master, this is their fantasy that they hope something bad happens to him, and it won't. They don't stick people like this in with the random people out there in the prison system. They're generally protected. They have an obligation to protect these people. So, Cruz is not just going to be wandering around in the rec yard and get hit with a dumbbell. Now, I will say, this will be quoted for posterity. If he is walking through the rec yard and gets smacked in the head with a dumbbell and killed, I'll eat crow that point. But generally, you don't put these people out and about with everyone else. Red pill, blue pill, trust me, bro. You don't have to worry about the judge wanting to hang out with you. LOL. Fair enough. Fair enough. Mark says, Kurt isn't done with sucking Cruz's cock. I'm not either. Have I said anything about Cruz? That he's a good guy? Let me know where I've said that, Mark. All I'm worried about is this. All I'm worried about is one thing. Just one thing, a simple thing. You know, it's just a simple thing that's out there. You know, and it's something I think even you can understand. It's this thing, Mark. And if that means I'm sucking Cruz's dick, then I think you got bigger problems about figuring out what dick sucking actually means. But that's the thing I'm worried about. Are you? Because I'd make sure you're not worried about sucking the prosecution's dick or the victim's dicks. Sassy Lass says, today was much worse than the statements made today. Yeah. Cord Pop, you're taking off. Well, have a nice night. Thank you for being here. I appreciate the banter and the discussion. Boomer says the prosecution and defense are held to the same standards of honesty. They can be fined and prosecuted for some offenses, right? Yes. We're bound by the rules of ethical conduct, including candor to the courts and candor on the record. It's just that that's already presumed. We don't have to be individually be sworn in. But as a layperson, you coming in, you have to be sworn in. Because there's no obligation for you otherwise. If you're not sworn in and you're not under oath, you can make a false statement and you're nothing wrong with that. It's dishonest, sure, but you could come in and lie if you're not under oath. You can't be punished for that or held accountable, really, I would argue. Someone swiped right on Kurt. He had to go. I mean, hopefully he's doing something fun right now. Patty Letter says, if you're ever falsely accused, or even just accused, period, you're going to want a really good defense, and everyone deserves it. Everyone deserves to have a defense attorney who's not going to get bullied and harassed. But this is conduct that's becoming acceptable based on what these victims are saying. The judge not stopping it. Hold on one second, guys. Sorry about that, guys. Yes, Diesel, yes, I thought that was hilarious. That's the only way to describe it. D. Watt says, I have a murdered family member, and I'm sure you didn't go run around in court screaming at everybody involved like that. Joseph DiMartino says, why don't werewolves eat ghost? Because they taste like sheet. Mike Hawk says, I wish my public defender fought for me like these guys did. My public defender never picked up the phone when I called. I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks. Chosen One says, could the defense object during the statements? You could, but there's no point. You would object afterwards is what I would always, if I was in their shoes, I would just stand up and say, again, judge, it's about him. Can they direct their statements towards him? We do have decorum in this court. We'd ask the court to enforce decorum. That's all I would say. But I do it in between. Malapropa says, even if he got at the minimum and everything, he's still going away forever. Yep. Yeah. Pope Rackets is saying, I was saying letting the state have power leads to Gitmo. Yeah. Kaido Mirror says, get that butt. Always good advice. Get that butt. Okay, well, wow, we're a little behind. I'm trying to catch up here. Pope Rackets for $2 said no due process and more state power leads to Gitmo. Yes. Chosen One says less pistols, one to save his son. Yeah. Eric Folmes is saying it was 9-3. Yes, it was 9-3, but it was initially just the one juror holding out who got the others to go with them. So it was 9-3, but at first it was, 11-1. Pretty Mama Bear says in Washington we have the Prison Rape Elimination Act. Yes, that's a federal thing. Every state, every prison has that. Trying to catch up here, guys. Sorry, I'm going to be running past other stuff. Malapropa says now we can go stare at a wall and go crazier. Yeah. Darcy says dumbbells are not allowed on most courtyards. Yeah, in rec yards. I'm just saying the idea he's just going to be out there in the rec yard with the general pop and somebody comes up and books him. It's not going to happen. I mean, if it does, I'll eat crow. I mean, I'll literally try to kill a crow and defeather it and eat it. Sassy Lass, is the reason the judge let these victims say what they wanted yesterday and today is due to the fact they weren't able to during the penalty phase? Well, they're not allowed to during the penalty phase. During the penalty phase, it's about aggravating and mitigating circumstances. These are emotional arguments. They have no bearing on the aggravation or mitigation, so they shouldn't be allowed, period. Now, this idea that they were told, don't react, don't have outbursts, yes, those can be prejudicial to the jury, and those could lead to a mistrial. So every time they said, well, you guys were worried about, every time you guys would complain about it. Yeah, because once again, this thing's kind of important. And if it's, hold on. Yes. Okay. Love you. Wow. They weren't allowed to do it because you're not allowed to improperly influence the jury. So every time they said, well, you guys would have complained. Yeah, because he's entitled to a fair trial. Oh, you would complain. Yes. The right to have a fair and impartial jury, a constitutional amendment. So it's not just them complaining, it's the Constitution demanding that. It's what we would all be entitled to, even them. So you're not allowed to influence the jury. And the prosecution for every case is going to tell people, if you're in the courtroom, shut up. Don't say anything. Don't get a mistrial. Don't cause something to happen we can't unfix. Sir Phil says, Fred and his great friend Nancy will not party with you. Oh, I know. I can, I'd take Fred to the range, but I'm sure he'd be afraid to touch a gun. Malapropos, I know. Nobody addressed subject matter jurisdiction. But the trial's over now, so he's kind of waived that. Yes, D what? It's always time for a Glock check. Never too late. Bill Leslie says crow tastes terrible. Ate some on a bed at deer camp. Yeah, but I'm a man of my word. I'll eat that crow. Ken O'Meara says you're not defending your murderer. You're making sure the state is doing its job. Yeah, but I would argue getting him a life from parole is defending him. But yeah, I get your sentiments. Naked Lunch for $4.99 says, who gets in trouble if a jury member kills himself because of all the pressure from these victim impacts? I don't know. You ask those victims, they feel like they have the right to do whatever they want, so I don't think they care. They don't seem to care. Sean is salty today. Hey, we have, this is a fucking rule. It's a pretty big, important thing. I really want to make sure we protect it because it protects me then. So yeah, I want to make sure the parachutes always work. I don't like people sitting there snipping at the parachutes with scissors. That's a bad thing. But anyways, good to see you around, Bubba. It's been a little while. That one juror must have had a good argument, Immacordo says. Or Imachidoro says. No, basically the argument was, I just can't do it. He has mental health problems. And it sounds like that person may have been against the death penalty altogether. So I don't know how good it was. Yes, Wolfgang Wenner says John Adams showed the importance of a good defense. Yep. And I'm sure that Gutenberg and all these other people will be crying and screaming and reeing in the streets at the Boston Massacre as well. Mr. Squiggle says nothing will happen to Cruz. It's illegal to kill people in jail. I know. So he should be safe. Just a map. Oh, Bren, switchy. Yep. Since there are no laws in this court, are we shotgunning claws? We did that once. I can't do it again. I felt like there's too much carbonation in those to shotgun. I think you'd have to let it sit for like 20 minutes and like all the carbonation get out first. Doing it right away is bad. On a wall says the victims weren't influencing the jury either. Not at this point, no. But you have rules. There's decorum. There are standards. That conduct would not be tolerated in any courtroom I go into, and it should never be tolerated. This is America. This isn't the third world shithole. The judge should be there to uphold the rights of all parties. Toothless says, can you object to the family statements? Like I said, I would always object in between them. I would never object in the middle of them. Just doesn't matter. Metal Chemist saying subject matter can never be waived. Yeah, but it's once you've not waived it, a court's going to be really reluctant to find that you can overturn it. A job well done says maybe a claw bong. Ooh, if that would be really bad too. Wrestler's mom says, should the defense decorum be tolerated? It wasn't, and they got stomped on for that. They were forced to apologize. That got reported and got caught, and they apologized. And if the judge wanted to penalize them, the judge had every right to do that. But here's what happened. It was done. Now we've got people coming in and acting a fool and showing their ass in court. Sorry, that doesn't excuse it. And for them to come in and say, but you did something, okay, fine. That doesn't give you the excuse to come in and act like a spaz like that. Those people were held accountable. You may not have thought it was proper, fine, but you don't get to bellyache and cry about it. That's how this goes. And also, it doesn't, the answer to improper decorum is not to let everybody just act a fool. The judge needs to gain control of her courtroom, and she failed to do that. Yeah, she could have sanctioned them, Chris. You're right. She could have sanctioned and she should have sanctioned them, but she didn't. Okay. Once again, this judge failed to control her courtroom. Yeah, they flipped someone off. Yeah, they did. They flipped people off. Does that now excuse that guy threatening the defense team, saying, people know who you are now? All that nonsense that went on for things? Like, no, that's inexcusable. Judge needs to control the courtroom and needs to be upheld to the rules. Jonathan Hokana says, which judge is better, this one or Judge Doro and Waukesha? Judge Doro by lengths and leaps and bounds. Judge Shear, this judge, she had it out for the defense, and I think that was a little, yeah. So, anyways, guys, look, I normally don't get fired up like that, but I can't tolerate that nonsense because remember, at the end of the day, say whatever the fuck you want. This is the prize. This is the goal here. This is to be protected. I don't care what happens or what someone did. This has to be protected. This is the ultimate issue. You may not like that, but that's the breaks. Because if you protect this for Nikolas Cruz, guess what? You're protecting yourself. So out of self-interest alone, you should be wanting to protect this. But to allow what happened today to keep going, sad. Sad, sad, sad should never happen. You know what? Great, your emotions are running high. The judge still needs to step in and be the judge and be the referee. Yes, the Constitution doesn't stop applying because somebody's a piece of shit. You know, everything applies in this Constitution. Not, oh, well, because I'm a victim and I'm mad. Okay, great. As I said, being a victim does not make you right. So that's it, guys. And I know some of you are new. You may not have liked that, but that's all that crying and nonsense. That's not right for the courtroom. This is not, the place for it. And I'll call it out. Yeah, and I mean, how many nonprofits did we hear about today? A lot. Yes, I'm surprised David Hogg didn't make a surprise statement. There I was. Anyways, guys, that is it for me today. Walter Malone for $4.99 says, this judge had to deal with being reelected. If yes, I could see why she would let the family tee off like that, keep the heat off her. Sure, but I think part of it is just she's not good at this. This is tough. And she just didn't have it right. So I just think this was way out of her depth. So that is it, guys. I thank you for being here. If you're new, I appreciate it. You got to see me come out a little hot and heavy, and that's not exactly usually how we do it. Today is Wednesday. I normally do a 9:30 show I'm petting a dog, but it's barking. I do a show every Thursday, 9:30. We cover what's been going on. So this is certainly a case that's going on. We might cover it just for a minute. There's a couple other things going on. What happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband, which is always it gets more and more interesting by the day. A couple other things that have gone on, and we'll address those. And you guys, if you have an issue and you want to bring it up, we could talk about it. So that's it, guys. Please give me a like. If you enjoyed it, please give me a subscribe. I would appreciate it. And remember, until next time, just because you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. Except for Nikolas Cruz, you did it. You're guilty. You escaped the hangman's noose. I mean, congratulations on that, I guess. But yes, have fun rotting in prison. And then, yes, I mean, I think you should burn in hell for what you've done. But that's not my job. That's God's job to mete that out. So take care, everyone.